Good afternoon, all. Kathy Belfort, good afternoon. Deborah Duranty, greetings. Jeremy Lewis, good afternoon, sir. Jennifer Ashby Okuli, good afternoon. My chosen Grace, greetings. Terrence Big Trinity for Life Cummings, greetings, my friend. Susan Kadugan, hi, G.H. Marshall, greetings. Diane Charles, hi, Diane. Shaw, good afternoon. Arlene Stewart. Let me find this. Kenneth Gabriel, good afternoon, sir. Margaret Thomas, Jonathan Carr, greetings. Rukmin Gangadin, hi Rukmin. Yes, it's been a while. I just thought I'd jump on for a little bit. Today, indeed. Sabrina Bruce, Patty Kutu, Marva Hewitt, Val Bowen. Hey, Val. Val is afternoon, you're late. Terrence Lynch, good afternoon. Mrs. Jones, good afternoon to you. Carlos Fonilia, greetings, my friend. Terrence Lynch is asking me to shed some light on Exxon and the government. All right. So I will look into that for you, Terrence, and we will treat with that. J.H. Marshall is saying one great job the PNM is doing is keeping public meetings, what they should have been doing long before. I agree with you, absolutely. I hear you, Val. Angela Isaac. Who shall I say that? I remember how to call Angie. Afternoon, Angie. Chiril Cabrales, Joy Ragunanan, hi Joy, Sarah Richards. Right, so good afternoon again, folks. As I said, it's been a while. Probably more than a month or close to a month since I've done a live. I said I'm still struggling to get back the zeal to do this. So many things have been happening in and out of the parliament. So we are in parliament tomorrow to debate the extension of the SOE. As you know, it's 14 days, and then you have to come back to request a 3-month extension, and then you have to come back again after that. So tomorrow, all they need is a simple majority, so they don't need our support, as the honorable Prime Minister would say. We don't need your support, but they don't need our support tomorrow. But I think if they want to extend beyond the 3 months, then they are going to need our support, and of course, by then, Parliament, the next session of Parliament will be back, well, beyond, because we are supposed to be on recess until the first week in September. And then they had this extraordinary session, meeting. So the clerk of the House would have summoned us. Literally, we got an email stating you are summoned to the Parliament on Monday to address this issue of the extension. And of course, you have Barry the Butcher, has the audacity and the temerity to talk about they will not tolerate PNM hypocrisy on Monday. Really, Barry? PNM hypocrisy? Listen, if audacity and temerity and boldfaceness was a party, it would be the UNC, you know. He wants to accuse us, the PNM, of hypocrisy. You all come in to debate the extension of a state of emergency that just a few months ago you all were against. A state of emergency that you all said was a waste of time. The political leader of the United National Congress, the member for Paria, said that a state of emergency without a curfew makes no sense. What's the curfew hours for this state of emergency? Where is it? You see, when you're in opposition, and they are learning quite quickly that when you're in opposition, you need to be wary of the things that you see, because it tends to come back to haunt you when you're in government. And it seems almost every time they open their mouths now, coming back to haunt them, the things that they said in opposition. the things that they opposed. When they didn't want to support 120 days, no bail. You remember that once upon a time there was a senator called Jayanti Lakshmi. Nobody knows where she is. She just vanished into thin air. All the theatrics and all the performances in the Senate to get the attention of the political leader in the hope that she would have been selected as a general election candidate to be sitting in the lower house today. Where is she? She's not in the lower house. She's not in the upper house. She's not even on a board. She's nowhere. Nowhere to be found. And when questions had been asked of Prasad Bisesa, well, what's going on with Senator Lakshmi? And she said, well, there's room for everybody. Apparently, there's no room for Lakshmi. But she was one of the most vocal, claiming that the last administration thinks that the only way to deal with crime is to lock up people and deprive them of bail. But now you have the member for Tunapuna, the Minister of Homeland Security, advocating for 180 days, no bail. They didn't want to support 120, but now 180 is good. Hypocrisy. They have given their supporters absolutely nothing to boast about in the last 3 months. And so all they're starting to do is to harass the PNM and battle the PNM, or the PNM there and the PNM this and the PNM that. You know why? Because there's nothing that they could come and talk about to praise the government. Hypocrisy abounds. I see some of them talking about who they're feeling much safer now. And in the last 3 months, they feel so much safer. Really? Let me see if I find this here. Can't believe it. Hypocrisy. Sickening. One of them posted up crime which the PNM government allowed to perpetuate for a decade cannot be fixed in a few months. The PNM never had the political will and experience to tackle crime. Their last prime minister said during the last election campaign that they were gaining experience over the last 10 years. Under the UNC coalition of interest government, we are feeling safer because they are working on reducing crime and catching criminals. But this clown couldn't mention one thing that they've done so far in the last 3 months to, as he says, reduce crime and catch criminals. Hypocrites, shameless. But I'm not going to respond, I don't remember my position now. But there's the idiocy that we have to put up with all the time. Feeling safe, really? The most amount of kidnappings for the year have taken place in the last 3 months under the collision of interests. Close to 100 murders in the space of the last 3 months. These are the people who told us 6 months' time, we'll have crime under control. 3 months gone, they realize, hey, 3 months and he ain't do one damn thing. All the Minister of Homeland Security talking about is whole stream. Change is coming. We went from walls, gates, cameras. That was, remember, during the election campaign, that's what he was saying. Then he was going to explore the El Salvadorian model. Every Monday morning, he have some different suggestion as to how they're going to treat with crime. Clueless. They have no plan, they had no plan, and they will have no plan. And their only plan is just like in 2010. Come and tell the population intelligence. The government got intelligence that says or suggested something was going to happen that would make the 1990 coup look like a tea party. Not a grenade found, not a gun found, not a man arrested for that. Then they came and tell us it had to do with intelligence that suggested that there was to be an assassination attempt on the Prime Minister's life. All that rubbish. Same thing they come back with, references to the 1990 coup. I know we're hearing about plotting to assassinate the Prime Minister and the DPP and senior judges and all kind of nonsense. Really? But yet still, in the face of all this intelligence, we heard from the Commissioner of Police that there was an arrangement made between certain persons currently incarcerated and persons on the outside. So they formed this group, this consortium, to carry out all of these acts and all these weapons and so on that were imported and came into the country from Venezuela. When did that come in? When did that come in? Because remember, they were saying under the last administration that the borders were porous, and they had the solution for the porous borders. The borders still porous? And if so, why is it so? Didn't they have the solution to fix the porous borders? They in power 3 months now, nothing. How long you all need to make the borders not porous? Because God working? All of a sudden, you ain't hearing the supporters talking nothing about porous borders anymore, right? But for the last 10 years, they were experts on porous borders. So how all of these things came in? In the last 10 years when the borders was porous, we heard not one report about any rocket launcher coming into the country and grenade and all kind of thing coming from Venezuela. For 10 years, none of that came into the country. But as soon as they come into office in the last 3 months, all of a sudden, rocket launcher and grenades and all kind of heavy artillery coming into the country. For 10 years, nobody wanted to kill the prime minister. Nobody wanted, Rowley was the worst thing ever, the worst prime minister ever. He evil, he wicked, PNM wicked and evil. They don't care about poor people, only care about the 1%. Nobody don't like Rowley, but nobody wanted to kill Rowley. Pasadbi says, sir, half of me belongs to you and the other half I give to you. And there have been prime ministers before me and prime ministers after me, but there will never be a prime minister who loves you as much as I love you. All this that I love, when the UNC wins, everybody wins. Why would you want to assassinate a prime minister who loves you more than every other prime minister? Why would you want to assassinate a prime minister under whose charge you're supposed to win? When UNC wins, everybody wins. People who win in don't try to blow up the AG's office with rocket launchers. People who are winning don't try to take out senior political officers. No, that is not the actions of people who are winning. So is it that people not winning? Where are all the winners? Where them? You know who's a winner? Peter Kanai, the General Secretary of the UNC. He's a winner. Oh, yes. Mr. Man is advisor, ministerial advisor, and I think my understanding is that position comes at about $20,000 a month salary, right? And he's the chairman of NCC. He is the deputy chairman of UDCOT, and who knows what else he's going to get, because apparently he's special. Between 2010 to 2015, they were singing a song, oh, Manning had the same people serving on multiple boards, and under us, that is not going to happen. No one person is going to serve on more than one board. And they changed their mind. All the things that Pasadbi Sessa apologized for, all the things. But that was your policy between 2010 to 2015. No one person is to serve on more than one board. But now, you have Kanai serving on 2. Right? The Plebdeco board, under the last PNM regime, right? Just left office 3 months ago. 3 months ago tomorrow. Right? Plebdeco board had 6 board members. 6. UNC come in, it went from 6 to 13. More than doubled. So the PNM could have run the Plebdeco board with 6 directors. But UNC can't do it with 6. They need 13. And each of these persons have to be paid, and that's one of the higher level boards. So the director's fee for the month is a little higher than the other boards. You know, the pleb boards, the lower level boards. I think Plebdeco might be an A board. They have A, B, and C. And the A boards, those directors get the most amount of money. They are looking at every single opportunity to feed their people, their support, their financiers, their friends, their family, the wives of government ministers sitting on boards, and people who would have spoken about those things or spoken against those things in the past are today trying to excuse it. You could imagine the member for Labre, Mr. Elder. We hear that his wife is going to be on a board. The member for Point Fortin, Mr. Keza, we hear that his wife is going to be on a board. And then you have Rudal Munila's wife is also going to be on a board. That's so far. They still have a number of other boards to appoint. The board that I was on, the National Trust, they are yet to, 3 months later, all the calls for resign, and if you don't resign, I resigned since the 5th of May. Since the 5th of May, I resigned. We are towards the end of July. Up to now, we have not had an acknowledgement of our resignation letters. None of the appointed members of the board have received an acknowledgement for our letters. So technically, we're still on the board. Dory resigned. Because unless the minister acknowledges and they put a new board in place, technically, we're still there. Right? Yeah. But resign, and there are a number of other boards just like that. So, in the absence of finding people of quality, and Rodney Charles said it once, you all have heard me repeat it on numerous occasions, nobody with integrity wants to associate themselves with the UNC. But they're making sure they take care of their own. But they accused the PNM of taking care of their own. And that was a sin, a cardinal sin. But now they're doing this thing shamelessly, bold-facedly. They have counselors and all sitting on boards. Vanessa Kusi, the wife of one of the divers who died in the Paria tragedy, she's counselor for one of the newest electoral districts under local government. I think is Couva West, Roystonia or something like that. She's sitting on a board. I think it's the Deco board. Some board she's sitting on. All the time they complain, she's suffering and they're suffering and they have no money and they're looking for compensation from the government and things are hard and they have children. She not suffering because she getting paid as a counselor and now she's sitting on a board. What experience does Ms. Kusi have to serve on a board like that? You have so many other boards. You have the lower level boards, but you put her on a board like that. What is her experience? What is her educational background? There's no fly-by-night board. But you just put her there because. Why? She came on the scene because her husband died in the Paria tragedy, shed some tears and so on and what have you, and now she living the life. So just say, hey, come, you want to be on a board? Come. We don't care if you have qualifications or not. Just sit down on a board. You have to do nothing. We put one or two persons there who have the competencies to do what is required, and you could just sit down there and twiddle your thumbs. And while them talking, you could just be on WhatsApp and so on, or you could be on social media. At the end of the month, money in your account, like yourself. What about the compensation for the divers' families? Where's the compensation? The last Prime Minister, Stuart Chung, offered to pay them $1 million each. They make a thing about that. Oh, they're trying to curry favor. It's election gimmick. Okay, you all will get $1 million each. We hear what that PNM thing and you're trying to buy the people and thing and be supporting the UNC. You support the UNC. Where you get? You get $1 million? No, you didn't. No, you get zero. Nothing. What they told you. PNM lying. They just don't want to compensate. They're wicked and heartless, but put us in office and we will compensate. And the same thing, they came into office and was the first thing they tell the families of the divers, well, there are certain legal hurdles that we have to overcome before we could pay any compensation. Same thing Rowley was telling earlier. Same thing the PNM and Stuart Chung were telling you. It is not that they don't want to compensate, but this thing has certain legal ramifications. One, you have the insurance companies for LMCS and the insurance companies of Paria who have a certain liability that they have to treat with. And once they settle up their business, then the government could step in and decide, well, okay, we could give you something in addition. But we don't want to impact where you have the right to sue. You could file a civil suit against both companies and sue. Stuart Chung came in and he said, notwithstanding that, we're still willing to give you a little ex gratia something, $1 million each. And that doesn't preclude you from being able to still sue Paria. They know what that? No. They're trying to bribe and they're trying to, okay. All right, you vote for UNC. They addressed it once. They tell her they have certain legal issues, but I thought they have the best lawyers. The best lawyers is in the UNC. Not so they can overcome these hurdles. 3 months now. Where all the bleeding hearts? Where are you? All the time, all they haranguing the PNM. 3 months now. You forget if diverse families exist. They don't need compensation. They're not suffering anymore. They're not struggling. They don't need money to live. Under the PNM, they needed money to live. But under the UNC, no, they could wait. Because for the last 3 months, the supporters of the UNC have developed the patience of Job for everything that they didn't have patience for under the last 10 years. They had the patience. It could take as long, give them as much time as they need to be able to bring down crime. That's okay. PNM? No. Rowley must go. Hines must go. This one must go. Call the election. The UNC in office, they promised you all the sun, the moon, the stars, and everything else. Now they're in office. Nothing. No complaints. Nobody must go. Yeah, get them time. Get them time. How much time to give them? They didn't ask for time in the election. They were saying, put us in office and we'll fix it one time. All the posts they put up, the manifesto. When UNC wins, everybody wins. When UNC wins, you will win at the pump. Reduce prices for fuel. Really? What's the price today? When did it go down? I filled up my tank a couple of days ago and it's the same price that I was paying prior to April 28th. Or maybe I went to the wrong gas station. Well, they help me now. Supporters of the UNC, help me. Let me know which gas station I'm supposed to go to. Is it the gas station in UNC constituencies only? Let me know so I could go there and get the reduced prices that they promised. What about the 10%? Where it? Felicia, you all in discussions because just now is budget. We're at the end of July. You have August, September, and the budget is due at the end of September, early October. So if you haven't started negotiations now, Felicia, then you ain't getting it in the next budget because you all need to negotiate, come to a conclusion, a settlement, an agreement on a figure so that Mr. Tanku could budget for that. And when they come and he reads the budget, in a couple months' time, the parliament will approve that so you all could get your back pay and you could get your pay raise. But if you haven't even started negotiations yet, Felicia, and you have about 2 months to do that, Felicia, ain't no 10% coming in 2025. You didn't want 4, you didn't want 5, you want 10. We started at 10. You all didn't learn from 86 when Chambers of all 6. Now we ain't taking away one that. Aleppo Robbie, what you get? You get 10% cut. Loss of your cost of living allowance. Now what you get? Right now, the only thing I get was the repeal of the TTRE. How that working for you? Public servants who was vexed with the PNM and who withheld your vote from the PNM because Rowley gave 47% and you only offering we 4 and Kamla offering 10 starting points. So we go in with Kamla and yellow is the code. TTRA repeal, how that help you? How much that put in your bank account? How things looking? Bank account looking good now? All right. Yeah, yellow is the code. Cost of living went down, right? Prices at the grocery went down? How about the food import bill? Went down? Okay. Yeah. How the Forex going? Always been August, July, August vacation. All of you all who traveling and going to Disney World and New York. You're getting more than 200 US in the bank now? Let me know which bank now. 3 months. 3 months, they were supposed to fix everything. How that going? Which bank you getting? Yeah. Everything good with the Forex now, eh? Yeah. Because remember, it's Embu's fault and Rowley fault and the PNM fault that you can't get 200 US in the bank while them gone. 3 months now. You getting it? That improve? Okay. Bunch of jokers. But anyway, it is what it is. Elections have consequences, and so too does election promises. And they say promises are comfort to a fool. I'm not calling anybody any fools, eh? All right. So don't mistake me. I just say it. I call it as I see it. So when we come to the parliament tomorrow, of course they come in to argue a set of fluff and the like. I heard the, hypocrisy is a hell of a thing. I heard the Minister of Homeland Security at the last post-cabinet press briefing. He said his job is to provide the police with the resources that they need to protect the citizens. That's his job. His job is not, he stopped short of saying his job is not to protect the citizens, but to provide the police and the protective services with the resources that they need to protect the people. But when Mr. Hines said the same thing, that's his job, is to provide the resources to the police, provide the resources to the defense force, to provide the resources to the prisons and everybody. That's his job. His job is not to protect the citizens. His job is to equip the people who getting paid every month to go out there every day and protect the citizens. All they rake him over the coals. Hines must go. Zanda, yeah, everything is Zanda this and Zanda that, yeah, boy. Zanda the crime fighter. Tunapuna people who voted for Zanda. How things in Tunapuna? You all feeling safer? You get your walls? You got your gates? You got your cameras? Your community center? A community center is a center for the community. How the community centers going in Tunapuna? How it going? You all feel safer when you go there now? What's Zanda doing for all you? When he pull up? Pulling any more stunts? Feeling safer now, right? Yeah, man. You went from one Minister of National Security to 3 different. You have Minister of Justice, Minister of Defense, Minister of Homeland Security. How are you feeling? Safer? Close to 100 murders in 3 months. Safer? How many kidnappings? 3 months. We safer. Things better. When UNC wins, everybody wins. Who wins? Who wins? Who really winning? Who really winning? I'm going to read something else here for you. I spoke about it in the meeting on Thursday night, and it's something that I saw that really got me upset and bothered me, right? This release by Udicott. Media release. Visit by Works and Infrastructure Minister, the Honorable Jolene John, MP, Udicott Chairman Shankar Bidesi, and Deputy Chairman Peter Kanhai, there's that name, to the Prime Minister's residence in Tobago. Works and Infrastructure Minister and Line Minister for Udicott, Jolene John, MP, yesterday, Sunday, the 20th of July, visited the Prime Minister's residence in Tobago with Udicott's Chairman Shankar Bidesi, Deputy Chairman Peter Kanhai, and Udicott Facilities Manager Raidel Mahabe for an assessment of the condition of the official residence in Tobago and its premises. So they vex when it is that that my parliamentary colleague Marvin pointed out the ethnic composition of the boards. Right? They had an issue with that. The fact is fact. When Anizet was the first person to point it out, Anizet is part of the collision of interest. How come Oli didn't rake him over the coals? He was the first person to raise it. He asked, where is the diversity? He stopped short of using the terms that Marvin used, but he raised it first. They didn't rake him over the coals. Nice, okay. What did Barry the Butcher come out and say? Yeah, let not your heart be troubled. We have many other boards to appoint, but don't worry. So don't worry now. I go GT. But you know what? For her surely up, we'll get some of their wives board position. Right? So there's a little extra kakada coming into the bank, into the household for the month. We know how to keep all quiet. Okay? So send me 2 names now. Send me your daughter name, your wife name, whoever name, and we will help you out. Right? That's what you want? Just send that. Not saying that that's what Mr. Anisa did. Because he raised the point. And it was something that the population was talking about. A lot of people were talking about that. In fact, TV6 News on their People Meter asked the question, do you agree that there's an imbalance with respect to the ethnic composition? People, I think 90-something people agreed that there was. And so their only response was to come and talk, to pull 1 or 2 board under the former PNM administration that had predominantly persons of African descent and highlight that. Right? But I'm coming back to Udicott. It was confirmed after the walkthrough at this site, the key remedial works must be conducted at the residence and its premises. I want to hear this, right? So they went to Tobago. So many places in Trinidad to visit. Well, they didn't visit yet, but you saw it fit to go to Tobago. All right. What they had in Tobago last weekend, we heard about Barry had birthday party and the like, and the whole clip was in Tobago. People experienced some problems. Carl said, no, that is not so. People did lives who had confirmed tickets, confirmed bookings, and said they were their flights were changed about 3 times before they were able to get on a plane. But Carl said, no, we didn't displace anybody to facilitate anybody. All right, no problem. So they're in Tobago. I'm not saying that's why they went, but all right. They just happened to be in Tobago on a Sunday, not during the week. On a Sunday, they decide to go to Tobago to visit the official Prime Minister's residence. Let me repeat this. It was confirmed after the walkthrough at this site that key remedial works must be conducted at the residence and its premises. The walkthrough by the ministerial team, I don't understand how it's a ministerial team because Oli only mentioned 1 minister. So unless there were other ministers there, we say, well, hey, Jolene going up by the other way, go through now. But I know who wasn't there, the Prime Minister. The walkthrough by the ministerial team commenced shortly before 9 a.m. The team then assessed the compound, main building, and adjoining structures which house staff members as well as members of the protective services. The walkthrough concluded around 10 a.m. So it took them 1 hour. 1 hour. The team then held discussions to ensure that all works to be done were properly documented and tabled. So in 1 hour, they were able to do a complete assessment of all these urgent remedial works that needs to be done. Discussions took place regarding the way forward and included follow-up visits to complete a full-scale assessment of the facility to develop the scope of works. Establishment of a project schedule and milestone. So we need to get this done quick. Conduct of extensive repairs. Let me repeat that. Conduct of extensive repairs. 4, take all incidental steps to ensure that all remedial works are completed. Chairman Bidesi stated that UDCOT stands ready to deliver all works within time and budget to ensure value for money. Let me read something else. Express article dated the 7th of November 2022. Probe $63 million cost. Munilal price skyrocketed from 25 million to 63 million. Oropost each MP Rudal Munilal is calling for an independent public inquiry into the cost of refurbishing the Prime Minister's residence in Tobago, saying yesterday the project went from 25 million to 63 million. Munilal said the cost overruns had been confirmed by UDCOT and called the issue scandalous. Speaking at the UNC's weekly Sunday briefing, Munilal questioned the government's use of taxpayers' money and asked how much had been paid by UDCOT so far. Munilal also claimed opposition leader Kamala Persad-Bissessa as Prime Minister once vetoed the same project because the cost was then 20 million. So she vetoed it when she was Prime Minister the first time. They're in office 3 months now, and that has become a priority. He said Persad-Bissessa had practically called him mad and said then the funding could have been spent on social services and infrastructure and told him to either reduce the budget or shelve it. Right? So this is when she was Prime Minister. Okay, it was in condition. She hardly used to go to Tobago then. Well, she used to go to Tobago, and most of the times they used to stay at the Magdalena or Coco Reef. Remember? They love to have retreats in Tobago, 2010 to 2015. Munilal was housing minister and line minister for UDCOT for some 5 years under the People's Partnership. He said the issue of the Prime Minister's residence in Tobago would be raised at UNC's Monday night forum. Munilal said the figures had been confirmed by UDCOT, and when the state agency first proposed the project under the present government, the cost was listed at 25 million. He said this was noted by the opposition, but the increased cost of goods and services was also factored. However, Munilal said Dr. Rowley was paranoid about fixing it because it was his hideaway, and today UDCOT confirmed the cost for the Prime Minister's residence is now in the vicinity of 63 million. He said UDCOT was certified to pay 48.7 million with 15.4 million unpaid. He said the opposition was calling for an independent public inquiry into the issue as the cost was too much for a second residence and diplomatic center in St. Anne's, Port of Spain was the PM's official residence. He said this was another scandal and the contractors for the project had to be made public. Let me go again. So according to Munilal, $63 million was spent 2 years ago. 63 million, right? If $63 million was spent on that residence 2 years ago, and it was hardly used by Dr. Rowley, a couple of times, well, he used to be in Tobago and more often. What repairs, what remedial work, what urgent repairs could you possibly have in the space of 2 years that it is so urgent that you need to do this now? What? People building a house, who built a house 2 years ago for $500,000, for $1 million, 1.5, ain't doing any remedial work. And they're living in these houses, constantly occupied, and they're not doing any significant remedial work. But a residence that is hardly occupied, he claims $63 million spent 2 years ago, and now they're coming to tell you that there is significant remedial works to be done. And it is so urgent, it is such a priority that they need to address it now. But when Persad-Bissessa was Prime Minister, the first time, as you heard Munilal say just now, 20 million, oh, that money could be better spent on infrastructure, schools, healthcare, paving roads. You're mad? 20 million is too much money. She's not even using the Prime Minister's residence in Trinidad, the island on which she lives, which is just a few kilometers from her private residence. She's not even using that. So if she's not even going to the official residence, and they told us that they needed $5 million to fix that, them just pull a figure out of the hat. Same thing they do, they went and they do a walkthrough at the Prime Minister's residence and diplomatic center, and then they pull Miss Wendy, whoever her name is, Wendy Rock, I think, or whatever it is, and they say, come. And Munilal, not Munilal, Paria tell her, we doing a video here. And they tell you $5 million. So apparently, Paria is an engineer. right? He could just do a walkthrough and say, yeah, that costing 500,000, 200,000, 1 million. Just he and Nicholas Morris do a walkthrough, right? And they came to that assessment. $5 million, just pulling figures out of our hat. So we wait to see, because we approve no money for this project in the mid-year review, right? No money for that. So any monies for this has to come in the next budget, the substantive budget in October. So I want to see the line item under which that would be addressed and how much money they intend to allocate to treat to that, since it's a priority for them. For remedial work for a property. When was the last time Kamala Persad went to Tobago? It almost seems as if she's afraid to even go on a plane now. But that is a priority for them, to find millions of dollars to do what they call remedial works that was done on a property 2 years ago. He says $63 million. Well, if $63 million was spent and you are telling me that there are significant remedial work that needs to be done, and it's the same UDCUT, then why aren't you calling for an inquiry? This is supposed to be a scandal. Because if $63 million spent, as you told us just 2 years ago, that property is supposed to be in pristine condition. You're not supposed to have any problems. Not one problem you're supposed to have. So if you are telling us that there are significant issues with this property requiring urgent attention, based on how the UNC normally operates, well, they're supposed to call up, that should have been discussed in one of your press conferences, your post-cabinet. You're looking for scandal to scandalize the last administration. No talk about that. While they come and say $63 million they spent, you will have been in charge for 3 months. You will have access to all the information. All the information. So all the allegations that they made over the last 5 years, they should be shelling out documents now to say, you see, we told you all this, look the proof here. 3 months, nothing happened. Nothing. But they were selling dreams to the population. And people were buying it. Yeah, Rowley this and the wicked and this and that. Again, I am saying, if we know Munilal as we do, if 63 million was really spent, and you're now telling me that you have to do significant works to that property, we should be hearing what are the works that needs to be done. What is the cost? And that should be a scandal. You should be happy to talk about that. No talk about that. So while it is every week, I have people coming to me, to my office on office day, big men in tears, because they're on the verge of being put out by the landlord because their rent is in arrears and they're looking for help. In fact, just Thursday gone, I had somebody come, right? His rent is in arrears. He said, landlady tell him a little about other people interested in the apartment. So she needs her rent money and she giving him until Friday, otherwise pack your things and go. He looking for help. As I said, every week, big men coming to me, crying, in tears. They don't have money to put food on the table because they were working CPEP. He working CPEP, the wife working CPEP. Their salary bouncing and they making ends meet. They were paying their bills. They had a roof over their head. They could send their children to school. They had food to eat. Now, both of them out of a job. Coming to the MP. They need help. They're looking for work. I don't have any jobs. But every week, if I see 15, 20 people for the week, at least 10 of them looking for work. A lot of them CPEP workers who up until a couple months ago had a job. It might not have been much, but at least it was filling a hole, as we say. At least it was paying bills. At least it was putting food on the table for them. Now they have no money. So the last paycheck, I think they suppose they would have gotten last week or this week or something, as the case may be. And they have no idea what's going to happen next month. No plan, no idea. And the government doesn't have any idea either. And they're only focusing on this, well, corruption. And let me dig deeper and see what corruption we could unearth. And meanwhile, you have over 11,000 citizens who are working in CPEP, in abeyance, all over the place, any little end that they could get to make ends meet. So that when a couple months ago, well, a few weeks ago, when we debated the supplementation bill, mid-year review, and the member, former trade unionist, Clyde Elder, member for Labray, got up in his maiden contribution and talking about where was the hotline? The PNM set up a hotline for everybody who lost their job under this administration. But where was the hotline for me? And where was the hotline for the TSTT workers? And where was the hotline for the petrogen workers? And where is the hotline for the forestry workers, Mr. Elder? Where is the hotline for the CPEP workers, Mr. Elder? Where is the hotline for those young persons who were working in Wassa, who lost their jobs, who were supposed to be on contract until the end of September, Mr. Elder? And they bust their throat quick, as soon as the election bell was rung. And you all come into office, bust their throat quick. Some of them from my own constituency. Where is the hotline for them, Mr. Elder? But they don't need a hotline. We passed the stage of hotline. What they need now is, well, a lifeline. Since you all put them on the breadline, below the poverty line, Mr. Elder. But yesterday was yesterday and today's today because, hey, now you're named minister. So you're collecting salary as an elected MP. You're collecting salary as minister, non-cabinet minister. And then your wife, soon enough, going to start drawing salary to as a board member. So think nice. And when they bust your throat and send you home from TSTT, you understood where barley grows. When no salary was coming in, you understood. So you could have commiserate with these CPEP workers. But I'm sure you had some level of savings because their salary was nowhere close to what yours was. Now you're making more than what you were making when you were in TSTT. That's collateral damage. They want to kill Faris. Days before the election, they come and extend the CPEP contracts. Well, if in fact that was done, you know what it was done for? It's to protect those same vulnerable workers. Those same vulnerable workers who are at the lowest end of the economic ladder, in the lowest rung, to protect them. And while they may come to sell you a story about it was to protect the CPEP contractors, a lot of them CPEP contractors were people that were put in there by the UNC and were kept on by the PNM. Huh? Just remember that. And in case they forget, they had a lot of UNC people working CPEP too. In my own constituency, we had quite a few of them. There were 9 contractors in my constituency, representing 270 persons who are now out of work, who are without a salary as at the end of this month, and who are looking for work. All these contractors who invested their money in equipment to buy Waka and all of these different things, they just park up there, doing nothing. In fact, one of the contractors would have showed me a bill where just a couple of weeks before the election, she spent some $7,000 to service her Wakas and so on and whatnot. That's money down the drain because the Wakas just park up there. Nothing to do. Right? Nothing to do. But they so love. That's how they love. As I said on Thursday, the UNC for the last 10 years held themselves out as being the party for the poor and the downtrodden. The PNM is the party for the rich and the 1%. They only care about the 1% and the 1%. But the UNC cares for the 90%, not 99, because between 90 and the 99, remember, there's a cohort of persons there who don't fall under the 1%, because the 1% is deemed to be the Syrian Lebanese community. But I will lump other people inside there because 1% should really be in terms of your wealth status. And we know there are lots of people who are non-Syrian, non-Lebanese. Some of them have plenty more money than some members of the Syrian Lebanese community, right? But they held themselves up. Yeah, we representing the poor and the working class. Rowley and the PNM don't care about them. And the first people they throw under the bus, the first casualties, was the very same people that they claim to so love and represent. Right there back. Yeah. When you see when everybody went, don't worry, we go take care of you. But we know the play. This is really for them to be able to reward some of the activists. I understand it was claimed certain radio personalities who was talking to them, talking for them, speaking for them, supposed to get CPEP contracts. Call name, I will whistle. Yeah? Dumb and dumber. Among, yeah, who they say supposed to get contract, among others. So you need to get rid of. You know who's PNM and what, so get rid of everybody. But none of these new contractors who are coming in are under any compulsion or obligation to rehire anybody. If they decide that they want to come in with a whole new crew, because they figure everybody who was working there before was PNM, they could do that. They could do that. But these were the same people you went to who were trying to link poverty and crime for the last 10 years. So you know why it has so much crime is because people suffering. They have no money. They can't pay their bills. They can't put food on the table. Everybody's suffering. That was Kamala's favorite line. Every time the media push a camera in her face and a microphone, everybody's suffering. Everybody's suffering. And that is what causing crime. There's an inherent link between crime and poverty. If that was your logic, then what should we expect now? Not more crime? 20,000 people. No gratuity. So when they want to do a false equivalence with Petrotrin, a lot of Petrotrin workers went home with money, big money, some of them. Some of them went home as millionaires. None of these CPAP workers get it. They get 1 month's pay. Can't even call that a gratuity. 1 month's pay. And fend for yourself after that. But what is priority for them is to find millions of dollars to facilitate what they call remedial works and urgent repairs for the Prime Minister's residence in Tobago, that if Kamala Persad-Bissessar goes there twice over the course of the next 5 years, that's plenty. So who really go in there? Who is that for? Not Mrs. Persad-Bissessar. I could tell you that. Maybe he's the de facto Prime Minister. Seems to have an affinity for Tobago. We have a whole official residence there, and since I'm minister in the office of the Prime Minister, that gives me some clout to be able to go there. Who will vex? Prime Minister give me authority over that. So if I decide to spend the night there, or 2 nights there, or a weekend there, hey, right? Where are the complainers? Where are the bleeding hearts? Who support the UNC? Where are you all? If Keith Rowley had done that, we wouldn't hear the end of it, but you all are so hypocritical. Don't say nothing about that. Nothing about that. But coming to talk about the PNM and Penny and this and that and the, stay out of PNM business. Focus on your party. Focus on, you're supposed to be winning, but you're not winning. That's what you all should be focused on. That you all can't come and talk anything to big up your government to say they do this. Most of the things they're taking credit for is stuff that was started under the PNM and has now started to bear fruit under them. And they're so shameless, coming to highlight it as if that was their project. They have nothing to show other than they repeal the TTRA. Right? That's the big accomplishment. They repealed the TTRA. They took away Stuart Young's pension, prime ministerial pension. What else they have? Anything else? And they came and they amended the Children's Life Fund. That's the big accomplishments. Nothing to benefit the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago. Right? And as I mentioned before, they take away Stuart Young pension and they feel they do Stuart Young something. You didn't do Stuart Young. You did Stuart Young constituents something. Because his ability to help is now limited to what he earns. Because remember, he now has to go back to private practice and rebuild his private practice that he would have given up for the 10 years that he was a minister. Right? And that ain't easy to start, to restart. It's not. Because somebody would have been taking care of his clients over the course of the last 10 years. So now you have to go back and rebuild and so on. Yeah? So any salary that he is earning. So this mindset that people have, well, he don't need that and thing, and he have money. You all know the man pocket. He has 2 sons. Children are expensive, right? 2 sons going to secondary school. And soon enough, they'll have to start university. So he had to pay for that too. And he has a constituency to run for the next 5 years. And I know, I could tell you, from people coming to my office every week, it's not easy. So for the MPs whose sole source of income is the parliamentary salary, I don't know how they make it out. Thank God I didn't have to give up my job. Right? My job that I had before I came into the politics, as I keep telling you all, I was doing very well there and I continue to. So at least I'm in a little better position and I may be able to help people from time to time. But it still is only so much we could do because everybody coming for help. Everybody coming. So we have back to school drive coming up. All these are things that were done by the previous MP. And people have gotten accustomed to it and they expect that the current MP would follow suit. But we are in opposition. You don't have the resources that you do when you're in government. Not to say that you're using state funds, but you have contractors who would assist and that kind of thing when you're in government. Your party is in government. right? People are willing to assist. But when you're not in government, not so willing at all. So you had to fight up. And the amount of activities that Malabar Mausika, formerly W. Mera, had, I certainly cannot sustain all of those. I can't. So I have to go through and see what I could keep, what I could scale down, and what I have to get rid of. And we'll do as much as we could with whatever little resources that we have, whether we have to hold fundraisers and the like. But I'm told that this back to school drive is something that is important, so we have to do it. You have to source school bags and stationery, and some people come into the constituency office with book lists and the like. So we had to see who we could lean on for assistance with that, and where I could assist directly with that. And I'm hearing about nobody with providing haircut and braiding hair and all of this kind of thing. So I'm new. These are things that are now being brought to my attention. So we're working on it. In addition to the other things that have to take place in the constituency, and it's like pulling teeth to get assistance from these people. Issues that are affecting the community. Just last week, we had a situation with a sewer. Over a month, people complaining about it, sending me messages directly, going on social media, reach out to WhatsApp, reach out to this one, reach out to that one. And after a little bit of persistence, finally, WhatsApp came a couple of days ago and they fixed the problem. Well, I hope the problem is fixed, because I'm being told that they may have to dig up the whole street for a more longer term solution to the problem, because based on what they would have done a couple of days ago, the problem might reoccur. So that's our next headache. But people became accustomed to a particular level of representation, and it must be maintained as a promise that I made to the people. But it's easier to do that when you're in government than when you're in opposition. Because when you go and you speak directly to ministers, and they tell you, well, send me a letter, no? Write to me. Or I could send you a WhatsApp or email. No, you have to send me an official letter on your letterhead. So when I send you this official letter, I have no idea. So it's dropped off to the office, but I have no idea if you receive it, when you receive it, if you read it. And I just have to wait on correspondence from you. And when you're getting correspondence of others as well, why would you give me priority? So while I'm making things priority, these clowns not making it a priority. So again, I'm going to have to speak to you directly in Parliament to ask you what Parliament is on recess. To ask you, did you receive the letter? Can you tell me what is happening? How are we proceeding with this? Because it's important. It may not be important to you because it's not your constituency and it's not a UNC constituency. So you figure that could go at the bottom of the pile. But it's important to me, and it's important to the residents and the constituents of Malabar Mausika. Right? And I'm going to leave that there for now. Right? For now. So let me in the time that I have left, because I said I have something an event to attend. Before I go there, I didn't have opportunity to speak to the issue of two things I wanted to touch on. The firing of the central bank governor, Mr. Alvin Hille. History repeats itself. The last administration would have fired, the central bank governor that they met when they came in, Joala Rambaram, and for good reason. Right? We have Mr. Imbut who told us Mr. Rambaram would have told him that he was turning off the tap. There was only enough money left to run the country for 2 days or 3 days, as the case may be. And that turning off of the tap had to do with the overdraft. And then we had Mr. Rambaran choosing to publish the list of the biggest consumers of foreign exchange in the country, again, which constituted a breach, I believe, of the Central Bank Act, which speaks to confidentiality as it pertains to clients. And therefore, that is part of the reason why the former Central Bank Governor Alvin Hille would have refused to provide the same information that was requested by the current administration. Interestingly, since they fired Mr. Hille and installed the new Central Bank Governor, former Minister of Finance Larry Hawaii, the information still hasn't been published. Still hasn't been published. And Mr. Hawaii has been Central Bank Governor for more than 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So they didn't get the information yet. You say Mr. Hille wasn't complying. He wasn't cooperating. Information was requested and he didn't give it. All right, so he's gone. He is now suing the state for almost $10 million, twice the amount that Jawala Rambaran sued the PNM for. And when Rambaran sued the PNM, the supporters of the UNC were all over the place. Taxpayers' money, taxpayers' money. Watch out, how much money and but going and cost the taxpayers $5 million. But Mr. Hele is suing for double that, $10 million. These same hypocrites who were so concerned about taxpayers' money, where are they today? You're all concerned that the actions of the government that you put into office could cost taxpayers $10 million. You had an issue at 5, but 10 is okay. And as I always say with the UNC, less is more. So apparently 10 is less than 5. Yapping all over the place, you know. Oh, 5 taxpayers is always, they should have made him but pay for it out of his pocket, and Rowley should have paid for it out of his pocket. Whole $5 million taxpayers dollars had to go to Rambaran. $10 million for Hele. Where are you? Where are you, bleeding hearts? Where are you, defenders of the treasury from the UNC? Where are you all? Nothing to say. They get pip. And only talk where the PNM, well, it was the last 10 years and all, it wasn't saying anything. But clearly, you all are prepared to sit down and hush while you're tongue-tied for the next 5 years when it comes to the actions of the government that you all put in place. Hypocrites. You all have no moral authority to criticize supporters of the PNM. And in just 3 months, the last time they were in office for 5 years, 3 months and 14 days, as I said on Thursday. The good news is 3 months gone. The bad news is still have 5 years and 14 days to deal with of this rubbish. And it is only going to get worse. Only going to get worse. Right? So Mr. Hilaire did what he was supposed to do based on the act, the Central Bank Act. Right? Because he is not prepared to release information, go against the act, break the law, and then when he had to pay a fine and end up in jail, who paying it for him? Who going to sit down in prison for him? Did he go in for himself? Amend the act. Come to the parliament, amend the act. And open and free up the hands of the central bank governor to be able to release that information. He was very well correct in the course of action. He wasn't going to be reckless like his predecessor. Right? But that's what they like. Put your lackeys inside there and you could get whatever information that you want. No regard or respect for the law. Just do whatever it is you want. And they bring back Hawaii, a geriatric, a retiree. Larry Hawaii, who was in retirement. They couldn't find nobody else younger to put there. They bring a Hawaii. Right? What is Hawaii's claim to fame that makes him so preeminently qualified to sit in that position? We recall they paid him $11.625 million to leave First Citizens Bank to become Minister of Finance. Right? While he was CEO of First Citizens, and while he was chairman of NEC, $10 million was stolen from NEC's bank account. Right? Under the guise of ketchup and some draft, some wire transfer instructions, money you spend on ketchup and hot dog or something for guy, all kind of bacana. In any other jurisdiction, Mr. Hawaii's resignation would have been demanded. Well, his resignation was asked for, but not for him to leave, not for him to depart. It was to depart for a promotion, not a demotion. So they say, here what? We were so pleased with your performance as chairman of NEC, so pleased with your performance as CEO of First Citizens Bank. We want you to now become Minister of Finance. And be willing to pay you any monies that you would have earned and the rest of your tenure as CEO of First Citizens. We're going to pay you that. And we're going to give you interest on that too. And then you'll become Minister of Finance and we pay you the salary of the Minister of Finance. Right. And then they lost. Now they bring him back. Now he's making more money. Because as Minister of Finance, he was probably making a little $50-something thousand a month. Now as Central Bank Governor, he's going to earn $175,000 a month. $175,000 a month, over $2 million a year. 5 years. So we're looking at about over $10 million in 5 years. Added to the $11.625 million they gave him the first time, that's $21 million. And when we add the salary he would have earned in the 3+ years that he was Minister of Finance, we're looking at about close to $25 million this man would have earned thanks to the UNC in the space of what? 3 years as Minister of Finance and 5 years as Central Bank Governor. $25 million. Who really making the rich richer? But all they wanted to kill Stuart Young because Stuart Young getting $87,000 a month, and that is right. And all that kind of rubbish. $1 million a year. It would have taken Stuart Chung 25 years with that $87,000 a month. And he had to pay tax on that. So when they making it seem as if $87,000 was going into Stuart Chung bank account, talking rubbish, that had to be taxed, and he had to pay NIS and all of them kind of things. But anyway, $87,000, or they complain $1 million. It would have taken Stuart Chung 25 years to make that money with that pension. And it take Larry Hawaii 8 years to make that. 8. It would have taken Stuart Chung 3 times that. All these hypocrites. Well, they have no problem. Stuart Chung, but they have no problem with Larry Hawaii winning $175,000 a month to do what? To do what? To deliver the same way he delivered as Minister of Finance? What did he give us as Minister of Finance? 3 years of consecutive budget deficits and a recession. That's what we got for $11.625 million. By his salary as minister, there is $60,000 a month for 3 years. That's what we got. 3 years of consecutive deficits and a recession. Yeah, that's great. Wonderful. That performance was so stellar that we felt we needed to bring him back and give him a big promotion, $175,000 a month as central bank governor. To do what exactly? You still ain't getting 200 US, or you still, that's all you're getting, as far as I know, in the bank. Did he fix that? All the big talk and gun talk. You're going to do this and do that. Has that been fixed? No. But I'm sure he received his first salary already, right? Because he's been there for almost a month, if not a month. Yeah. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, all there was when UNC wins, everybody wins, and yellow is the code. How much will they get? How much you get? Sure, at the end of this month. Can I get in his money though? General Ramdeen. Mr. Ramdeen, who is accused of trying to defraud the state under the People's Partnership, cutting and pasting witness statements, right? To defraud the state of millions of dollars in claims from prisoners, false claims. Today, he's the chairman of NGC. All the time UNC supporters talking about all the PNM money putting us at a square peg in a wrong hole. They have no experience. Square pegs in wrong hole. What experience does Gerald Ramdeen have with when it comes to natural gas? What experience does he have in the energy sector, if any? What? What's his background? That's not square peg in a wrong hole. That's a hexagonal square in a triangular hole. Right? No experience. But you put him as chairman. Where do you see supporters? Where are they? No complaints? Nah, well, they're supporting that. Everything good. And we could support that. Bunch of hypocrites. There's something I wanted to touch on before I get there. Right? Where is it? Former mayor of Arima, one Ghassan Youssef, put out a post recently on Facebook for which he got a lot of likes, and deservedly so. See if I find this. Right, and it had to do, I guess, in response to all of the issues surrounding the ethnic complexion of some of these boards. Here's what Mr. Youssef had to say. If the Afro-Trinis, and I guess it had to do as well with Marvin Gonzalez's statement. If the Afro-Trinis are underrepresented on the board's appointments, maybe it's because of a lack of education, qualifications, and merit. If that is the reality and the case, that will fall squarely on the lap and feet of the PNM. They did not, or they did that. They did that to that sector of the community. They reduced them to CPEP and URP personals. Damn it, what do you expect? And you know something now? They are now proudly stating that they are a CPEP and URP party. Let's all of us get this very important sector of our TNT community out of the tall drums. PNM put them in. I want to ask Mr. Youssef, right? You have business in Arima and you probably have business in Port of Spain and other parts of the country. What jobs you give to these Afro-Trinis? Are they the managers in your stores, Mr. Youssef? Or you just have them on the floor as customer service rep, cutting cloth, measuring cloth, cleaning stuff. However, you try to get these Afro-Trinis, as you say, who are underrepresented on the boards because of a lack of education, qualifications, and merit. What have you done? You're talking here about let's get them out of the doldrums that the PNM put them in. How have you contributed to that? You were the mayor of Arima under the People's Partnership for 3 years. What did you do to get these uneducated Afro-Trinis who lack qualifications and have no merit? How did you help them when you had power? How did you help them when you were part of the People's Partnership and you had the ear of the Prime Minister, Mr. Youssef? What did you do? What did your kind do? Only now you see the need to be lifted out of the doldrums that according to you, the PNM put them in? I see this is a kind of ridiculous, racist comment I can't take. If the Afro-Trinis are underrepresented on the board appointments because of lack of education, qualifications, and merit. Did it ever occur to you, Mr. Youssef, that maybe the reason why they're underrepresented on these boards under the UNC is because the Afro-Trinis who have education, qualifications, and merit don't want nothing to do with the UNC? Nothing. Right? As far as they're concerned, UNC, nothing. Rodney Charles said it. Nobody with integrity wants to be associated with the UNC. And these same Afro-Trinis who you all talking about, where the PNM had them, the board, the PNM board was more African. Where so they didn't have qualifications, they didn't have education and merit. They didn't have it, Mr. Youssef. According to you. Right? Just like that counterfeit 1%er who's now happy that he get a little work, a little end as a minister in the Ministry of Housing, Philip Edward Alexander, who just a few months ago talked nonsense about the only purpose persons of African descent serve in this country is as laborers and consumers. Because that's how they see persons of African descent. And they have no problem saying these things in public. Because there are persons of African descent who supporting that and endorsing that rubbish. Shamelessly so. Shamelessly so. Call them cockroach and all them kind of thing. Where are the defenders? Where are the defenders? Nowhere. Quiet. And I keep saying that persons of African descent who are accomplished, why are you all always so quiet? Why? You have business, but you don't want nobody to know that's your business, and you don't want nobody to, because you figure your own black bread, you know, and come and ask you for work, or they ask you for money. You want nobody know, nah, I want nobody know I own that business. But all the other ethnicities, they're proud to say, yes, that is my business, and that is us. Oh, no. No, nobody know. Be quiet. Hush your mouth. Don't say nothing. And that is why statements like this will continue to be made. That's why. Because we who have the education and the qualification, right, quiet. The heads of the leading banks, persons of African descent. Managing Director of Republic Bank is what? Nigel Batiste. What is he? What is he? If Mr. Youssef wants to know, pick up the phone and call Norman Sabga. Ask him, who are some of the leading managers and executives in Ansa Makal who have been driving that company? And who have that company where it is today? Pick up the phone and ask him. I'm sure you have a relationship with Mr. Sabga. Sure you would have been always some kind of pumpkin vine relation. Pick up the phone and call him and ask him. And see, ask him for a list of his executives and managers, and you will see how many persons of African descent occupy those positions and helping that company to earn millions and billions every year in profit. But you all don't see that. No, all you're seeing is you see people on the side of the road cutting grass. When Jerry Brooks was the chief operating officer for Ansa Makal for years, you didn't see that. You didn't see that. You all just removed Alvin Hilaire as central bank governor. He didn't have qualifications, education, and merit. No, he was just there. They just put him there as a lackey. And to replace him with Larry Hawaii. But I'm certain Mr. Hill is a little more accomplished than Mr. Hawaii. But that's all you like. And you all don't see these things. Anyway, I'll leave you there for another time. So we had General Council yesterday, and the political leader, Rene Louison, is saying they're going to be fake on Emancipation Day. Of course, absolutely. Mario is asking if the Heliconia Foundation was dissolved. No, not that I'm aware of, Mario. But I'll inquire into it. So I was saying, so we had General Council yesterday. The political leader would have announced her deputies, and among other things, because she would have also announced who picks for the central executive. I understand, based on what I've seen and heard, some people, some of the choices for deputy political leaders not sitting well with some people, and that was not unanticipated. In fact, the political leader would have mentioned yesterday, she's aware that there would be people who would have issues with it. But as she said, it's not about who you like and who you don't like. She would have given her reasons, her rationale for why she chose those persons, reasons which I will not disclose because General Council is supposed to be private, and what is discussed there is private. There's a reason why we leave our cell phones downstairs when we go upstairs, to avoid conversations being recorded and persons can speak freely and so on. Right? But what I would say is that the leader is well aware that her choices would not sit well with everybody, but it's her prerogative to choose. And if she believes that these are the persons who can best assist her, again, it's her prerogative so to choose. To me, the reasons that she gave as to why she chose them were sound reasons. Again, which I will not disclose. If she chooses at some subsequent time to speak to that issue and see what was her thinking when she chose these persons, again, it's her prerogative to do so. All right? I would say Sanjeev is Sanjeev Budu, who would have been the PNM's candidate for Komuto Manzanilla, is a young man. In fact, he sits on the executive of my constituency. He's the treasurer of the Malabar Mausika constituency executive. He's an attorney by profession. So Malabar Mausika is representing. So we have an MP and we have a deputy political leader. So we have reason to be proud. I'm sure you're all aware of the other two deputy political leaders, Coleman Burt, former deputy political leader under Dr. Rowley, and former Labor Relations Officer Jennifer Baptiste Primus. Right? So I've seen persons expressing their opinions on social media, which is their right to do. And nothing wrong with that. The PNM is not a dictatorship, and therefore if persons feel that they need to express their views, I'm sure the leader welcomes it. And well, I think the next public meeting that we will be having is supposed to be held in the constituency of Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, the constituency of Honorable Stuart Young, former Prime Minister. And that meeting should be coming up probably in the next week or two. So we've taken a decision that we would be visiting all 41 constituencies. Meetings would be held in all 41 constituencies. The meeting would be preceded by a walk with the political leader and members of parliament, followed by the public meeting where the speakers would be either the member of parliament for that constituency or the coordinator. Coordinators were also appointed to the various constituencies. There are two constituencies for which coordinators were not appointed because the political leader has to have discussions with the executives there, and then coordinators would be appointed. All right. So Sanjeev has also been appointed coordinator for the constituency of Komuto Manzanilla. So his responsibilities there would be to ensure that he continues the work that he would have started during the election campaign in that constituency build PNM support in that constituency for 2030, or as some people say, before. But knowing this UNC government, them going right on to the wire. If they could have go more than 5 years, 3 months and 14 days, they would do it. So we look forward to these public meetings where we will be discussing the issues as they present themselves. And you're going to be seeing a lot of things will be done differently as to what you would have gotten accustomed to with the PNM. Okay, you're going to be seeing more press conferences. We acknowledge the fact that where we fell down was in social media. You all know I have been saying that for years, since I was on 91.9 on radio, saying that. And things are being put in place to address that. And in short order, you will be seeing these changes being rolled out with respect to that. All right, committees have not yet been appointed, but that will be announced shortly as well. So there's a lot of work taking place behind the scenes to revamp, not to rebuild. I don't support this rebuild. The PNM doesn't need rebuilding. We just need recalibration, as I keep saying. And yeah, so we'll be coming out to meet the people. Because we know the UNC not having anything to talk about will be attacking and do, well, they didn't do that before and whatnot. The party's under new leadership, different direction, different course. Right? So the political leader, again, it is up to her to operate how she feels, what she thinks is best, with the advice of council around her, which includes all 13 MPs. We do have the liberty to operate or do what we think is best in our constituencies. Of course, we will consult with the party leadership from time to time. But at the end of the day, it is to rebuild. The only thing rebuilding is the support, which we lost. Some people were upset with things that were done by the last administration. Hopefully, that is behind them now. They punished the PNM. PNM is out of office. Have a new government in place doing rubbish. But that's okay. As I kept telling you all, your vote is not refundable. So when you made the mistake on the 20th of April, so you can't go back to the EBC and say, I want a refund. There is no refund to be had. You have to wait until 2030, whenever Mrs. Prasad Bisesa or whoever is the Prime Minister decides to call the election. So we wait to see how that pans out. All right. There's so many other things that to talk about, right? But based on requests that I've seen from certain people, I would have to do 29 Super C is saying the party would never get my support with this nonsense. Annette Moses is saying you all will lose more support, mark my word. Oh Lord. Oh boy. Oh boy. Seeing. So let me add first, folks. I know I have seen the UNC spreading misinformation about there being some division in the party because they're not seeing certain MPs or they're not seeing certain MPs at meetings and so on, right? And I'm seeing persons here asking about Mrs. Robinson Regis. If you all follow the Parliament channel, since the new session started, I am sure you would have heard the speaker indicate that Mrs. Robinson Regis did ask for to be excused from parliamentary sittings for a period of time. All right? And there's a reason for that, which I will not disclose, but needless to say, Mrs. Regis is there, and you all will see her soon enough. All right? Soon enough, you will see her. But she will not be in Parliament tomorrow, as you all will see. And that's as much as I would say about Mrs. Regis, Mrs. Robinson Regis. Okay? But just know it has nothing to do with any division and her not supporting and so on. Has nothing to do with that. Okay? But you will see her soon enough. So do with that as you will. And I would say no more with respect to that. She did ask for time off, and for good reason. And when she's back, she will be back. Okay? So Someone is saying, I can't vote for the PNM once Stuart Young is not the political leader. How can you put someone who battled the former political leader like that? Folks, I think I just have a little bit of time left, right? So let me just say this. How should I put this way? As I said before, it is the prerogative of the political leader to select who she wants as her deputies, or who he wants, whoever is the political leader. It is their prerogative. And some people may not like it. I am certain there were persons yesterday at the General Council who may not have supported all of the choices. There are some people who probably think Sanjeev is a just come and they find where he come from, who is he, and all of that. The fact of the matter is, there will always be people with issues who would disagree with the choices that have been made. Not everybody agrees with the choices that were made for the Senate. There are people who have issues with Foster Cummins being there. There are people who have issues with Faris being there. But again, you just had to trust the judgment of the political leader. And as I said, in due course, if she feels the need to explain to the general public certain decisions, then she will do so. But the fact is, when Dr. Oli made the decision to have for Stuart Young to become his successor, that didn't sit well with a lot of people. There were a lot of people who were upset about it. And so many people who are upset with the choices that Penny made would have supported the decision for Stuart to be Dr. Oli's successor. And there were persons who were against it. There were persons who felt that Penny should have been the natural choice. And they were upset. And now the persons who were upset about that are happy. Penny is now the leader. And the persons who are on the flip side of it are upset. So in fact, you will never have everybody who is happy. But I am saying that while I understand people are upset about certain things, certain decisions that are being made, you shouldn't punish the party for it. And the point I'm making, going forward, if and I'm seeing people saying that they're not supporting the party, we're going to lose support. But you have to ask yourself, which is more important? Punishing the party because you disagree with certain choices the leader makes and the party remains in opposition and you have to suffer under the UNC, or notwithstanding the decisions that the leader makes, you decide, listen, it is what it is. The PNM is not the leadership. The PNM is the membership, the leadership, our supporters, and the country under the UNC, and you all are seeing it in just the space of 3 months. You are seeing it. What governance under the UNC brings, and it's only been 3 months. You still have about 5 years to go, and I tell you all, it's only going to get worse. And when you declare that you're not supporting and that's why I would say the PNM supporters could take a page from if there's one page you could take from the book of the UNC supporters. Right? They are fiercely loyal. Kamala could do what she wants. She could appoint who she wants. I am certain there are people in the UNC, persons of East Indian descent, who racist as hell, and the idea of Jolene John being a deputy political leader grinds, it irks them. But at the same time, that is not going to prevent them from supporting Kamala and UNC. The things people say, well, Jolene John is African, and we ain't supporting no African, and we vex, and we're not supporting, and therefore, no, they don't like Jolene because of her race, and we know it's a fact. I'm not saying anything that is not true, because I have heard some of them say that you have somebody like Jolene John elevated. Yeah, she's a good minister, I think but you see, when it comes to, right, they feel she shouldn't be. But they're still going to vote. When time comes, they're going to vote for the UNC to make sure that the UNC is in power, because that is the party that they support, and they're willing to look past that. As much as it may irk them and annoy them, they're looking past that, and they're going to support the UNC, and that is why they are in office. If it was Kamala was prime minister for the last 5 years, and they hadn't done the increase in salaries, you feel the supporters are going to say, nah, me ain't voting for them? No, there are cost Kamala coming, going in the bars, in the house, wherever it is. But when election they come, they go in back and cast the ballot and still cost. They're holding their nose. Kamala's so and so. But they dip in their finger and they put in their X next to the rising sun, though. Because at the end of the day, they don't want Rowley there. They don't want Stuart Chung there. They don't want the PNM there. They just want Kamala there. And again, she could do what she wants. And they will still go and vote. But PNM, we vex with Rowley. We ain't like how Rowley puts Stuart Chung, so we vex. We have voted. We ain't like how Rowley take 47% when it was really 28. We have voted. We ain't like how Rowley do this, and Rowley too rough, and Rowley this, and Stuart Chung that, and Hines this. We ain't voted. We ain't supported, and you withheld your vote. You withheld your vote. Yes, I can't vote for the UNC, but I ain't voting for the PNM neither because the party disappointed me, I vex, so I ain't voting. What was the outcome? All the complaints we complaining now, nothing has improved. All the promises they make fall by the wayside. If they fulfill 2 or 3 of those promises over the course of the next 5 years, consider yourselves lucky. Things that they didn't even campaign on, now they come in with and given priority to. And the things that they did campaign on, all of a sudden take a backseat. We're seeing the hypocrisy. They had no plan when it comes to crime fighting. And when they're telling you a whole strain, and the supporters want to come and tell you, hey, hold on, it's only 3 months. They will come back a year from now and still tell you it's only 1 year. 2030 will come and you know what they will tell you? 5 years is not enough because the PNM did so much damage to the country's economy and they did so much damage when it came to crime that 5 years is not enough for you to fix it. That is what they will come with in 2030 after the government has done nothing to improve the situation. They will come and that is the excuse. Make no mistake about it and give them 10 years and they will still come and tell you 10 years is not enough because the damage the PNM will take 20 and 30 years to fix. That is the mindset of the cult members of the UNC. That is how they think. They defend their party and their leadership to the hilt. But PNM people, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. I am not, don't get me wrong, no. I am saying if people have a right to be upset. That's your right. Nobody can tell you, don't be, if you don't like this person or don't like. At the end of the day, that's what it is. Because I said Dr. Oli would have made choices that some people didn't like. And that is why we're in opposition. There are lots of things that the last administration did that PNM supporters were opposed to, and they withheld their vote, and we see what the outcome is. I'm saying, Penny is the political leader now. These are her choices. When she is ready, she will tell the population, she will tell the membership of the party what her thinking was as to why she chose these people. She told the General Council yesterday what her thinking was with all 3 persons. I saw some people are upset with Laurel Ezama Leasing's appointment as international liaison officer or something like that. People raising the issue of her court matter, which I think is unfair to raise that as an issue. That is a private matter, a domestic matter, has nothing to do with her ability to be able to do the job. I mean, if she was facing, if it was a matter where she was before the court for committing some crime or some criminal offense, of course, I would say that's appalling. You can't do that. But you can't crucify Laurel because of a private matter. This is a divorce. Her husband has made certain, and you know what's the interesting thing about that? Is PNM people have an issue with Laurel Ezama Leasing being chosen, who are highlighting and raising the issue of her court matter. But when that court matter came up, Kamala Prasad says, so you had David Nakid came and did a live and said that when the information came public that the Laurel's husband would have, it was some ex parte, something, and he would have gone to the court and make his claims or whatever it is, and so on, that Kamala told them, hey, leave that alone. Leave that, do not comment on that, don't speak about that because of the circumstances, right? Leave it alone. Naked came and said that. So here it is that we have the leader of the UNC defending Laurel Ezama Leasing, and her own PNM supporters want to rake her over the coals for the very same thing, and she shouldn't be appointed because of something that is domestic and has nothing to do with her competence and her ability to do the job. And again, that is the problem. That is the problem. But the party is not a dictatorship. All right? If you wish to speak with the political leader, there are avenues so to do. The political leader will be at the next, she will be at all the public meetings. The next one, as I said before, is in the constituency of Stuart Young. Come to the meeting. After the meeting, feel free to have a conversation with the political leader. Talk to her and let her know how you feel. The political leader is an elected MP. She has an office. Make an appointment and go and see her. Have a conversation with her. Send her correspondence. As she would have indicated yesterday at General Council, she is making herself available to the membership. Right? You could question her on anything. She will speak on the matter. She sees, as she said, she's well familiar with the things that are said about her on Facebook. She's not ignorant of the things that have been said about her. But it is what it is. There was no contest. She was the only candidate for political leader. Simple as that. So for the next 4 years, she is the political leader, and members are free to be upset with any choices that she makes. And opportunities will be provided. If you are a member of a party group and you feel there are issues that you disagree with and you wanted to raise, that is why every single constituency has representatives on General Council. Bring it to the attention of your chairman. Bring it to the attention of the chairman of your executive or your party group and tell them, I would like this issue raised at the next General Council meeting, because there is an open forum under general business. Any member of General Council is free to put up their hand, have their names put down on the list because they have an issue that they wish to raise, either based personally or they have an issue to raise on behalf of their constituency, and it would be put on the floor, and whoever they address it to, the person would respond. So there are avenues. The PNM is not a dictatorship. Simple as that. There are many avenues for persons to let their feelings be known to the party leadership. You want to drop off a letter, go down to Balize House, drop off a letter. The political leader has an office in Balize House. The political leader is the opposition leader. Her office is on Charles Street. You could drop off a letter there for her to correspondence. You could go to her office in Arima and find out what her email address is and send an email. So many avenues. Have a discussion with her. Let her know how you feel. Oh, Lord. Utilda Wood is saying Paria is not getting water. It was bad. Now it is worse. So someone is asking who put us politically in the first place. Someone who Susie Laduman is saying it is a dictatorship. We were bullied to vote. How were you bullied to vote for a slate? I don't understand. There were two slates. You had the slate under the political leader. Then you had another slate under Farai Hove Masaisai, which fielded about, I think, 6 candidates. And then you had, while it was not a slate, you had a full slate, but it wasn't a slate in that sense. Of independent candidates, 51 persons contested positions. 51. When you went to vote, nobody forced anybody to vote for anybody. You were given, and based on my experience, you were given the ballot book with all positions, and you went behind an enclosed area. You were given the stamp with the X, and it was up to you to put your X next to the name that you felt you wanted to occupy or to get that position. It was simple as that, right? 2,800 and something people voted for me to be social media officer. 3,600 or something or so voted for, or 3,007 or something voted for Simon Denobringer. And he is now the social media officer. So the additional people who voted for Simon, nothing prevented you from voting for me. The 3,000 people some people who voted for him, nothing prevented you from voting for me. The fact of the matter is, perhaps a lot of people didn't know who I was. And they chose to vote. It is what it is. Campaigning was done. And we are where we are. Whether or not I would contest that position again, I highly doubt. But I think based on what I would have heard, at General Council yesterday, social media is in good hands. All right, there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes that you all are going to see being rolled out soon enough. So just bear with us a little bit. Right, as I said, the committees have not yet been formed. I have made myself available. If I am asked to serve on the social media committee, by all means, I would serve in whatever way capacity that I can. Right, whatever contribution. Even if I'm not, I will still continue to contribute in it, because you don't need to be on a committee to contribute to the party social media apparatus. Right. So, as I said, you all know I would have made it public before. I don't support Slate. I don't, because the challenge, and again, people can't be vexed, because what happens is that, and as a measure of laziness too, people just go on and say, we saw it happen in 2022, it came and happen again. People just went out and they wouldn't take the time to find out, okay, who are these candidates? The list of names of candidates were put out. People were advertising. And a lot of people who could have voted just did not take, there were meetings being held. Candidates were having Zoom meetings and so on for you to hear, to meet, to be introduced to the candidates, to hear what they plan to do. Persons weren't interested. I would have been on some of those Zoom meetings. If you had 10 people sign on, 15 people, 20 people sign on, what could we do? It is what it is. And then people went and they just voted because they assume, okay, well, I don't know who any of these people here, so let me just see let me go with this. Let me go with this person. If the political leader says they're good, well, then they're good. It happened in 2022. Under Dr. Rowley too, a lot of people voted Slate. There are people who, many of you all felt that I should have been the social media officer. But it didn't happen. About 2,100 people voted for me in 2022. Over 6,000 persons voted for Chrissy Robinson. When we had the convention in Queen's Park, Savannah, and I went, there were people who said to me, listen, I know you're good, eh? I know you would do the best job, but so-and-so is my friend. And I don't tell them I'm going and vote for them already. So don't take it the wrong way, you know. It's not that I'm supporting you, you know, but it's just that I can't vote for you because this person is my friend and that person is my friend. That is what people were voting based on. Their friend. It wasn't, the consideration wasn't, well, okay, who could do the best job? That wasn't the consideration. Their primary consideration was, this candidate is my friend and I'm voting for that person because I know he long time. So I'm voting for him. I couldn't vex. I said, well, okay, quite understandable. Quite understandable. It's a fair contest. It's open. You can vote for whoever you want. Nobody put a gun to anybody and tell them vote for. It is what it is. Oh, Lord. You see. I see Bernadine is saying, I'm not really too much interested in this new PNM opposition. Bernadine, I hear you. I hear you. I see someone is asking, how is the political leader going to heal the party that is very fractured? Can't. All right, folks. Let's have a few more minutes. I can't take any calls today, but I'm going to try to do my lives a little more often. I can't do it next weekend because next weekend I have 1,000,010 things to do. I've been invited to several things. Next weekend, the Jamaican ambassador is having a lunch. It is by Emancipendence. So they're celebrating emancipation and independence. So they're having some church service and then they're having a lunch. The Arima Borough Corporation is also having an event, some church service next week Sunday as well. And then an association of which I'm a part, they're having a boat ride at 2:00. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of things happening. So I can't do it next week. I'll probably try and do it during the week. But let me say this, right? And to answer Bernardine's, well, those two points that I raised. There are 13 of us sitting on the opposition bench. 41 people offered themselves under the PNM. Only 13 were successful. And of that 13, some of us barely scraped through. We're lucky we have a small maxi and we didn't have to end up with a taxi. It was that bad. The UNC didn't have that problem. All of their candidates who won their seats with comfortable margins. As opposed to the PNM, where Marvin Gonzalez scraped through by 200 and something votes. I scraped through by 200 and something votes. I think Penny scraped through by 600 and something votes. The only PNM candidate who really had a significant margin of victory would have been Camille Robinson Regis, as is the norm, and I think Stuart Chow. Right? All the rest of us barely scraped through in seats that were considered to be PNM stronghold seats, have not been reduced to marginal seats. The UNC in some of these seats, the UNC's vote count increased, the PNM's vote count went down significantly. In my own constituency, you'll have heard me talk about that before. Lisa Morris Julian won that seat in 2020 by over 6,000 votes. 6,000 votes. I went by less than 300. And had it not been for the Patriotic Front, I would have probably given a backside wash. Me, Marvin, Penny, a few of us. There would have been less of us on the opposition bench. And it happened in 2010. We went from 26 seats to 12. How did that happen? How did that happen? Because PNM people chose to withhold their vote, and some of them chose to buy into the rhetoric and lies of the UNC. You all have heard me talk about it. I have friends who, to this date, we don't talk anymore since 2010. When they were telling me nonsense about give the partnership a chance and it's something new, and if they don't work out, we could always go back to the PNM. I said, I'm not supporting that. Miss me with that BS. But they still went and voted, and within the space of months, they regretted it. But we didn't learn from that experience. And that is why when the UNC loses, their loss is not that significant. When the UNC gets into power, it's because they were able to capture a lot of PNM seats. And so when they are voted out of office, it's just because the PNM end up taking back those seats. But the UNC doesn't ever lose any significant seats like the PNM does. You feel you'll ever see the UNC sitting on the opposition bench with 12 seats and 13 seats? Never happened. Never happened. And that is why it's easier for the UNC to strategize in an election and say, well, we're sure we have at least 18, and you only need 21 to form government. So while they only need to win 3, the PNM had to focus on winning more, holding on to what they have, and winning more. So while we hold 13 seats now, you feel if something were to happen to one of us and there's a by-election, that we could safely say, well, yeah, the PNM going to win back that seat? You feel we could do that? You feel in Malabar, Mausika, if there were a by-election now, that we could safely say that if Dominic Smith come back, that he wouldn't win next time? If the Patriotic Front decides that they're not going to contest? Why is that? That margin of victory should have never been so close. Never been so close. And then when you do that comparative, look at the UNC votes have not moved. And if it did move, it's for the better, not for the worse. So Kamala held on to all the votes that she got in 2020, and she got an additional 400 and something. Munila held on to all the votes that he got in 2020, and he got an additional 600 and something. And when you go through, you would see in almost every one of the UNC seats, their vote count went up. A lot of cases, it didn't go up by much, but they held on to all the votes. All PNM MPs, we lost votes. All of us lost votes. Why did we lose the votes? It had nothing to do with Penny Beckles. It had nothing to do with Dr. Rowley. It's PNM people who made the decision that when they vexed with the party, they would hold in the vote. And that is the fundamental difference between the PNM and the UNC. Now, I am not saying that PNM supporters should condone it, but you see, well, you know my issue is, the party has organs by which, if you're disgruntled, that you can utilize that. Don't wait until election day to say you're going to send a message. Utilize these organs during the course of the 5 years to let the party know that you're displeased. That is why you have an MP. Your MP has an office. If the MP not walking around, go to the MP and let them know. That is why you have a constituency executive, but we have some party groups that I don't know what's going on. What really going on? That's what your party group is there for. You're supposed to be meeting on a monthly basis. If you have issues, let the chairman of your party group know, hey, you see this? Make sure when all you go Balize house for general council, let the political leader know this is how we feel, right? Let your voices be heard. When time comes around for you all to elect a constituency executive, if you know the last executive playing up in the monthly salary, get rid of them and put people who will actually do the work, who will make sure that the leadership of the party hears how the people feel. Demand. You always hear me complaining all the time. When the PNM having a public meeting, the UNC having public meeting every Monday night forum, meeting Sunday morning, Wednesday, when the PNM having public meeting. I was complaining about it. But my lone voice could only do so much. Where was everybody else? We come on social media. When I have a live or Jenny have a live and we complain in the comments. But what are we doing to make sure the party hears? The leadership then probably wasn't looking at my live. And if they're looking at it, they ain't reading the comments. So you need to do more to make sure that the leadership hears how the people feel. This leadership has said that they intend to be more in contact with the people. But if when we have any meetings, the leader walk in with the other members of parliament, and you're going door to door, and you're all ain't coming out. It's your opportunity. You know how many people Penny spoke to on Thursday during the walk? You know how many people were they let her know how they feel? They were very matter-of-factly. They said, listen, one woman said, I used to be a PNM. She said, but right now I just float in. She said, because I'm not pleased with what I see. I'm not happy, and you all need to win back my support. She said that, and she made no bones about telling Penny that, and that is what the walkabout. So you all will hear when the walkabout is. The leader is there. Other members of parliament, don't stay in your house and you're seeing people pulling the curtain, and when you wave to them, they pull it back. Come outside and talk to the leader and tell her how you feel. Tell the members so that when you all come and you express, when we meet in caucus and so on, we can say, well, listen. And I walk away here, the people say so and so and so and so. We need to address that. We can't turn a blind eye to that. Okay? Because there's legitimate concerns that people have. That needs to be spoken to. What are we doing about that? But if we don't know how you are feeling, I know because I'm reading. I can't read all the comments. Some of them will jump out at me and I will read it. And rest assured, I will take it back to the leader and I will tell her. But just me one. So all I could do, I could bring it to her attention that look, so is the case, and it is up to her to make a decision how she wants to treat with certain things. Let me see here. But with respect to the question I was asked about healing the party when the party is fractured, why is the party fractured? Why is the party fractured? The party is fractured because there are persons who want Stuart as political leader. There are persons who want Penny as political leader. We can't have two political leaders. There is a process of political leader. All right? Process took place a month ago. Penny was the only contender for political leader. There was no vote for political leader because she was unchallenged and she became the political leader. You can't fault Penny for that. She never told anybody, she didn't hold a gun to anybody here and say, do not contest. When Dr. Rowley contested in the election in 2022, Dr. Rowley had challengers in the person of Karen Nunes Teixeira, Junior Barak, I think was Ronald Boynes. Yeah, 3 different people, I think, challenged Dr. Rowley for the leadership. He was successful. All right? It is what it is. People could only vote for who offered themselves. Penny was the person the only person who offered herself for the political leadership. Is it that people are saying she shouldn't have offered herself? Okay, I hear that too. But as I said, there are a lot of people who felt that after Penny challenged Dr. Rowley for the leadership and lost, that she was the next in line. Penny has her supporters, Stuart has his supporters. But for now, Penny is the leader. 2029, there'll be another internal election for leader. Anybody could offer themselves to be the political leader. But I'm saying, to answer the question, you all tell me what you think, how you think this divide, this perceived divide, could be fixed. Tell me. I will indicate it to the political leader. If you all don't want to talk to her, I will. So you all tell me what you think could be done. Because from the democratic standpoint, there is nothing. Penny is the political leader. There's nothing you all could do to change that until 2029. She is the leader, right? It's her prerogative to choose who she wants as deputy political leader. She doesn't have to consult with anybody for any of those positions. She could if she wants to, but she doesn't have to. And whoever her successor is the same thing. They don't have to choose. Because I'm sure if Stuart was the political leader and the opposition leader, or if he was prime minister, he would have made choices that some people would not have liked. It's just par for the course. Colman Burt was Dr. Rowley's deputy political leader. A lot of people didn't like Colman Burt. A lot of people who are now against Mr. Imbud. And I just speaking here from what I consider to be a balanced perspective. A lot of people who are upset that Mr. Imbud has come back as a deputy political leader. Were these same persons upset when Dr. Rowley made him a deputy political leader? It was the same Colman Burt when Dr. Rowley made him deputy political leader in 2022, 2023. It was the same abrasive Mr. Imbud, the same Mr. Imbud who always say just who you all figure he just crass and crude and so on. That's the nature of the man. So it can't be that you supported it when Dr. Rowley did it and you're not supporting it when Penny do it because you do like Penny. It can't be. It's the same man. The same. And you know what? I will have a word with the political leader, and I will tell her, I think, this is my view, she doesn't have to take it, that at the earliest convenience, that she should speak to the issue of her choices and state why she made those choices. She did it yesterday at General Council. It's not for me to speak. That's her responsibility. If she chooses to, it's up to her. I could only suggest. Because I am interested in healing the party. But if we hold on to these grouses, the party cannot heal. And Penny can't force nobody to let go of any grouses. And that's one of the challenges. She can't force anybody to let go. You all had to choose to let go for yourself. For the greater good of the party. Unless you all want to be in opposition for the next 15 years. Kamala won't be there. How could you imagine Paria as prime minister or Munilal as prime minister? They have their own, trust me, they have their own bacchanal coming. Because Kamala is not going to go beyond this too. If she lasts this too, this is her last two. Because at 78, right now we can see she's struggling. So I don't think even if she wants to, that she's going to go beyond this too. So there is going to be political turmoil in that party for her successor. Just as we would have seen with the PNM. And we have the UNC saying, oh, the PNM can't catch themselves and they're this and that and whatnot. What do you all suggest? Kevin Springer is saying, if Mr. Young did the same thing, some of us would not like it. Exactly. The people who support, who are in the Penny camp would have been upset the same way. And we would be in the same position. The same thing would happen. So, as I said, you can't have two political leaders. So whichever way it goes, you will always have people back. And if in 2029, Stuart decides to challenge and he becomes political leader, the people who support Penny will be upset. And then the script will flip and they will be the ones complaining on social media. And they will be the ones saying they didn't support it. But we need all the votes. So we cannot afford at any point in time to have that split. We can't. But if it is not willing to let go because we wedded to one particular individual, and when that individual is not the political leader, we say we're not supporting. But as I said, if the script is flipped, everybody who is on here now, who is saying they can't support the current opposition, and who is saying that they can't support the current political leader, if we have a new political leader in 2029, it's the same situation is going to happen, that everybody now who supporting the current political leader will be upset. And so close to 1 year before a general election, and these persons saying, well, me I support, I ain't voting, I ain't supporting, what will not happen? Well, we will still be a fractured party? How are we fixing that? I don't have the solution. No. As I said, the only thing that could be done would be for persons who are disgruntled to put down their grosses. And if they can't, the political leader can't do anything, the MPs can't do anything. We can only try to coalesce in our constituencies, but I don't know. Short of, let me not even go there. Let me not even go there, right? But let me just say, while there is a perceived rift, I am not saying that there is a rift. As far as I know, all of my parliamentary colleagues, we good. So whether all of our respective supporters are good is a different story. I don't know. I don't know what to tell her. What a time for me to be a member of parliament. A lot of the pieces, half of them still coming out in the next in 2 months. Exactly. 7,000 people came out. We had about 9,000 in 2022. Out of a membership of 100,000 people, 10% came out. Less than 10% came out in 2022. And about what? 7-8% came out in 2025. And some of the people who complained could have voted and they made a conscious decision that they're not going to vote. And I begged them. I said, you all, let us not have a low voter turnout, please. Right? Let's not do that. Let us not give the UNC ammunition. Plenty of people didn't listen to me. They didn't vote. The PNM, one man, one vote. It is what it is. Right? So I don't know. Mariel McAllister is saying, let us build the party and get over the bitterness. I agree with you 100%, Mariel. I agree 100%. Yeah. That's the bigger issue, you know. We keep saying, we accuse the UNC of party before country. But when we pushing this kind of thing, that's the same thing we doing. Party before country. Same thing we accusing them of is the same thing we doing. And if the party is not united, then how we could expect people who do support the PNM or who want defense to support a party that's not united? And if there is a perception that there is disunity, where is it coming from? You're not hearing anybody in the leadership saying we fractured. You're not hearing anybody in any of the 13 of us coming and saying we're not united. We are not saying that. It is supporters who are saying that on social media. And the UNC is feeding off of that. You have PNM people who sharing things that the UNC put out. I see the UNC putting out all kind of memes talking about they're saying that the PNM united, but you're not seeing this one in meetings, and you're not seeing. You all do not know what these people's circumstance is. You don't know. You're all saying you're not seeing Mrs. Robinson Regis at meetings, but there is a reason why you're not seeing her. It has nothing to do with any fracture, or her not supporting has nothing to do with that. But people not seeing her and assuming that is the reason why. When all you have to do, you're not seeing her in the parliament either. You're not seeing her anyway. You're not seeing Mrs. Robinson Regis anyway. So therefore, you must know that it has nothing to do with any rift. So disabuse yourselves. So stop sharing things from the UNC that making it seem as if there's a fracture because you're not seeing Mrs. Robinson Regis and you're not seeing Stuart Chung at meetings. It is not what you all think. And I am not at liberty to speak on that. I'm not. Donna Walker is saying from now to 2029, my choice would still be Stuart. I don't want Foster for anyone else. Stuart have vision, and it would let people know that we're not an African-based party, contrary to what some people think. Tanaya Nicholas is saying, it saddens me to see the comments of some of you all very narrow-minded, and you all are not thinking about persons who have lost their jobs and not knowing where the next dollar is coming from, which is a very important point. Kester Billy is saying, it is my opinion that the two people, the now leader and Mr. Young, have to make statements to the supporters to clear up these perceptions. Okay, I could endorse that. Anon says UNC has outsmarted TNT once again by using the naive citizens against themselves. Marilyn McAllister says the PNM people caused their own demise by their pettiness. Patty Kutu says, look at Mr. Ford for Tunapuna. That was shocking. Mr. Esmond Ford was a worker in his constituency, and people fall for the dance and his big. Exactly. And you know, I would. Let me go down that road. Let me do. Right? All I will say is the only reason why Stuart Young is not the Prime Minister today had nothing to do with Penny Beckles. The PNM people had done what they were supposed to do. We wouldn't be having this discussion right now. Right? If they had done what they were supposed to do on April 28th, we would not be here. We would not be having this discussion. There would have been no leadership issue. Stuart Young would have been the Prime Minister, and that's that. We would have been in government. And no fallout and no vexation. So the people that you all need to be cussing is the 98,000. How many of them chose to vote for the UNC? And how many of them decided that they just couldn't get over the increase in the salaries and they weren't voting? Who take chin up and thought they were going to get 10% increase or 15% increase and decided to give the UNC their vote? And who say I can't support the PNM because the PNM is supposed to be an African party and Stuart Young is a Chinese and I can't support that. And I vex with Rowley how he do what he do, and I can't support Stuart Young and I ain't voting. Right? And country came second. And your grouse came first. And I'm sure now, seeing what has transpired over the last 3 months and what we're likely to see transpire over the course of the next 5 years, all of those issues, or a lot of those issues that some of you would have caused you to stay away from the polls, seems pretty small right now and pretty petty right now as compared to, because nobody anticipated that 11,000 CPF workers were going to lose their job and 4,000 or so forestry workers were going to lose their job, and the government seems to not care. They couldn't care less. And what makes it even worse is that some of them, just who are elected MPs, CPF workers going to them every week too. They have constituency days. And the foolishness that they're telling them, these constituents who come to them. Imagine you have constituents from Shogunas and stuff coming to me for help because they went to the MP and all the MP tell them, well, you know, we really have nothing right now, and you have to hold on until and whatnot. And hold on. The landlord don't want to hear hold on. Tech don't want to hear hold on. Courts don't want to hear hold on. Where are the people to defend the PNM and Stuart Young? Not Stuart Young, sorry. Faris Al-Rawi. UNC saying all kind of thing. They say in that Parasram, oh, he get this one URP contract and that one URP contract. They're trying to sully the man's daughter's name, his son name, the wife name, all kind of thing. All of this happening, right? They out there tarnishing the reputation of the last administration. And we starting to fight about who like Penny and who don't like Penny and who likes Stuart Young and all of that. The PNM doesn't air dirty linen. Probably let us deal with those issues behind closed doors. If there is, I am not saying that there is any rift, right? I am not, because I am in the WhatsApp chat for the parliamentarians, so I see the discourse that takes place. There is no rift in there. When we go to Parliament, we sit down in the members' lounge and we have lunch. 13 of us and our colleagues from the Senate. We have lunch. We don't have lunch with the government, right? Members' lounge is a big room. We on one side, they on the other side. They hardly interact with us, and we have no issues with that. One or two of them who might probably have a relationship with, well, a friendship with one or two. You might see them talk a little bit from now, but for the most part, that's just how it is. So, and this myth that people have, oh yeah, see them carrying on in the parliament, but when you say after behind closed doors, they're knocking glass. They're not knocking glass. None. We went last week, Friday, the US Embassy, not Friday going, the one before, the US Embassy had their 4th of July celebration at Hyatt. You would have swear it was a UNC affair. You would have swear. A few of us from the PNM went, who were invited. We see them there. It had no knocking glass, nothing. We pull our corner, and they're all over the place, passing us straight like a full bus. We vex. We're not looking for friends. We didn't go there for friends. We went there to represent the people who put us there. And that is what people do. So I can tell you, they no knocking glass, they no friend nothing. Exactly what you all see in the parliament chamber is exactly what exists outside of the parliament chamber. When the cameras are turned off, same thing happens. No friending. Right? So I just put in that out there for persons. You see, I'm just saying, folks, the next meeting is in Stuart's constituency, right? As the political leader would have announced that on Thursday night. She reiterated it again yesterday. The next constituencies are Stuart's constituency, Christian Birchwood's constituency of Laventille East Mova, and then we're going to San Fernando East, Brian Manning. So we'll see what happens. If you all say there's a rift, well, we will see at the next public meeting, which is due in about 2 weeks, because the political leader will be speaking, and the MP will be speaking as well. Roland Rishai, is it? He says, I found myself having to work with a broken shovel in order to complete the work. Got it done. The PNM has to work with the tools they have in order to be successful. Agreed. Agreed. Sedena is asking, when is she going to Arima? I think that we will be coming to, we will be going to Arima soon enough. But at this time, the feeling is that we need to go to the other constituencies first, because you don't want it to look as if the political leader, is, because she's the political leader, going by her first and all of that. Priority is being given to the other constituencies, some of which were not in the past beneficiaries of public meetings by the PNM executive. I don't know. I don't recall the PNM ever having I can't remember the last time the PNM had a public meeting with the political leader in Dabadiomera. For the election, there was none. Right? They went to Lahakitat Alparo, and I was asked to speak there, but we had no public meetings in my constituency. In fact, there was none in Arima either. Penny had a meeting in Arima, and I was asked to speak there, but in terms of a meeting with the politics, there was none in those constituencies. And so I think the focus now is really to go to the constituencies that over the years have not had or have not benefited in a long time from a meeting with the, and then we're looking to show up, as I said, the margin by which some of us won our seats is not reassuring at all. Not. Given previous margins. So my seat has now been reduced. Malabar Mosika has now been reduced to a marginal seat. Aruka Lupino is now a marginal seat. And even Arima is now a marginal seat. I think Penny won by 600 and something votes. Brian Manning won his seat by 600 and something votes. Imagine San Fernando East, a seat that Patrick Manning held for 40 years. We almost lost that. We almost lost that seat. Mr. Manning probably turning in his grave right now. Turning in his grave. To see that. Now we could have lost that seat. Imagine we lose Labre and Point Fortin. I can't remember the last time those seats were in the hands of the other party. Labre and Point Fortin we lost. At least there was a time when we could have said, well, right, we counted them too. That is sure PNM seats. How that happened? And right now, Ernesto Queza doing the most in Point Fortin to try and hold on to that seat. And it was worse. You have some PNM people helping him. I saw they had a meeting a couple days ago, the budget consultation, I think it was. And when I look in the crowd, I see in people who I know to be PNM supporters in this meeting. Now, they may have gone there as constituents because they want to, there's a meeting, they want to have their voices heard. But I could tell you, Dominic Smith had a meeting, same budget consultation meeting in my constituency. I didn't go. And I would not have, even if I was not the MP, I would not have gone. Because these things are being treated as UNC things. Simple thing, the consultation into the stand your ground law. They are not that, those consultations should be had from a neutral perspective. You shouldn't have UNC MPs holding consultations in their constituency. You should have, okay, you have the Attorney General, maybe the Minister of Legal Affairs, could understand that. But don't tell me you're having consultations in UNC constituencies. You're not having any in the PNM constituencies. So PNM voices don't matter. We don't have a say in this law. But you all will have, they having the consultations in UNC constituencies. And then they will use that consultation, which is biased because obviously it's UNC people coming out and expressing their views and only singing the praises of the government and the ministers and supporting this thing. We as PNM MPs, we can't even have a consultation in our constituency because we have not been provided with the draft legislation. So if people ask questions, we could go through and say, well, okay, based on what they have here, they're saying this is what is what. So they have not provided that. They have it. We don't have it. So we can't we don't have the wherewithal to have consultations because if people ask us questions, we can't answer it. We have no idea what is in this, what the government is proposing. Nothing. So we would just be like sitting ducks. It makes no sense for us to have consultations on the standing ground because we would be shooting blanks basically. But they have in their consultations, they know what it is they want to put in the law. So when people ask questions, they can answer. And then, so you have 26 constituencies where you will have consultations and the rest, the next 15, I don't know if they're going to Tobago in the 2 seats because they are practically part of the coalition of interest. They're just plain smart with foolishness. But the PNM constituencies are not being afforded an opportunity to speak, to have a say. None. And then they're going to come and they plan to bring this legislation in September, so they say, right? But they will say they had consultations and then they will say, well, it's not our fault that the PNM didn't have consultation. With what? With what we supposed to have consultation? How are we supposed to answer questions? You all are the government, you know what you all are proposing. But that is the disadvantage that we are at. And they will stand up in the parliament, we don't need all their support. We don't need all their support. We have the numbers. Who gave them the numbers? Who gave them the numbers on the 2 occasions? 2010, you all gave them 29 seats. And they come back in 2025 and give them 28. That is why they could tell us they don't need our support. It's not our fault. We made a case to the people to keep the PNM in office, and PNM people chose to reject us. They reject them too, but they withheld their votes. And that was just as bad as voting for them. So then I saying the opposition leader almost lost her seat and she allowed to run for leadership instead of going to show up her votes. She's running all over the place. Oh Lord, so that are brutal. Oh my goodness. So then I fair not in due course. Anaya, is it a saying if Brian Manning checks his comments, he'll see why he nearly lost his seat. Right, I'll tell him that, Anaya. I don't know what the comments are, but the comments to which you speak, I don't know what they are, but I will tell Brian. Anon is saying, I've learned to paddle my own canoe. Others are simply not dependable and won't follow methods, but success is the key. Kamala Cat, oh Lord, where are you all getting these names? What's the purpose of the meetings? What's the metrics for the meeting success? Less than 1,000 tune in for those meetings online. All right, so if I could answer that, with respect to the 1,000 tuning in, the PNM meetings are being streamed across multiple platforms. So while people may look at YouTube, there's not only YouTube, right? Because the meeting, people look at the meetings on, the meeting was also carried on I-95.5. So persons would have been listening there. And then you have a number, for instance, the political leader, the meeting would have been streamed on her Facebook page, and other persons' Facebook pages as well. So people tune in to various Facebook pages, and then the PNM has a number of Facebook pages, the PNM Facebook page, and then you have a number of PNM groups that would have shared the link, and it would have been viewed on those pages as well. So it's not just the numbers that you may see on YouTube that you need to look at. As I said, there are a number of other platforms on which these meetings are being streamed. All right, so, and that was, yeah, so it's multiple, so that's why you wouldn't see the numbers huge on any one platform, because it's, yeah, and then you have the people listening on radio. Let me see. So the purpose of the meeting really is to to connect with the people. As I said, that's why we have the walkabout before the meeting, is to meet with the people, to hear what their concerns are. So it provides us with that opportunity, because the political leader can't come, because, well, she is basically killing two birds with one stone, right? Because you have to have any meetings, she can't be in all 41 constituencies at the same time, and the expectation is that the MPs as well as the coordinators would be working in the constituencies. So it's to sensitize the population on the PNM's perspective, because what people are saying is that the PNM was too quiet. The government was doing things and they weren't hearing about it. So this is an opportunity now for the PNM to express their views on national issues outside of the press conference that will be held at the opposition leader's office. And let's face it, the UNC in government, but they still having the Monday night forum. What are they talking about in the Monday night forum meeting? The things that they did, or they're using the opportunity to still malign and bad talk the PNM and bad talk the previous administration. They in office, they still campaigning as if they're in opposition. We have to mount a response. When they see certain things that are untrue, we have to respond. And that was our problem before. The UNC was saying things at the Monday night forum, they were saying things at the Sunday morning press conference, and the PNM was not responding to it. And the population, a lot of people figured, well, if the PNM not refuting it, then it had to be true. So we run away with that. It's the truth. Now, it's a different dispensation. As soon as they say it, we address it. Whether it be at the meetings, whether it be at the press conferences, whether it be via social media, we will be addressing it immediately. Josephine Guy saying the PNM party has to go through this 5 years to learn for the withheld of their votes. All right, so I hear that, Josephine. But Mercer saying the office of the opposition. They don't have the opposition leader doesn't have an official page, right? I'll check into that, Mercer. Thanks for that point. Right. So yes, we have no choice but to go through the 5 years Josephine. But if the supporters who withheld their votes hold on to the reasons that they withheld their votes, then what's the point of we're not going anywhere? Because if come 2030 you decide you're still vexed about something that happened in 2023 and you're not voting, how would I help any party? How would I help any party? So it means in order for the PM to get back into office, we would have to wait until the UNC performs in a manner that is so egregious that the population, non-PNM supporters, decide to either withhold their vote from them or to support the PNM. No, you all could choose to have the PNM remain in opposition for 10 years and hope that in 10 years' time, I mean, Penny is what, 64 now? 10 years' time, she'll be 74. So I don't suppose she may want to go beyond that. So if some people say, well, all right, we hold out 10 years and hope that in 10 years' time, Stuart Young will become the political leader and he'll be 60 by then, and you all want to ride out 10 years in opposition, that's your choice. It's a choice, it's an option. You all can do that. Of course, by then, the country will be set back about 50 years, which means Stuart Young's job then will be even harder. And who says in 10 years Stuart will, I don't know. I don't know. I can tell you, folks, there's a lot you all had to give consideration to it. And in 10 years' time, you have a lot of people in the party with ambitions to be political leader. A lot. And anything can happen in 10 years' time. And if you all think, those who think that we could ride out Penny and hold on until 10 years or whatever it is, understand that in 10 years' time, there are persons now who have ambition and they would want to challenge for the position in 10 years. So if you feel it's just going to be what is it called, a walk in the park or a cakewalk that this is what's going to happen, and no. Ambition knows no limits. All right? I'm just saying that. Remember, we're not aging in reverse. Stuart is 50 now. Just bear that in mind. Oh, Lord. So Jenny Bengoche says the PNM needs strategies to wheel the supporters back. They need to be proactive in their approach. That is good. Folks, all I'm asking for is, please, if you all have ideas, share it with us. We need to hear, and that's part of the reason why we're doing the walkabouts. So you all could tell us what you all want us to do. Because we have ideas. We could try and implement the ideas, and it may not necessarily meet with your approval. But you all need to tell us what you want us to do. So I hear people are saying, we need to regroup, we need to do this, but you all need to bring it to a more granular level with specifics, exactly what you all want to see us do to achieve that. If you don't think the meetings are a good idea, then tell us what you think is a good idea. We are willing to listen. When the committees are formed, we will go to the committees and say, look, social media, this is what the people want to see. This is what they want to hear. Right? They don't want to see us at memes bad talking the government. They want to see their representatives. They want us to do interviews. They want us to have the young people talk. I can tell you there are plans afoot to create a studio with the PNM, where we'll be promoting the PNM channel on YouTube. But you all need to give us specifics. If you want to share it here when I have the live, let us know. And I will take it back to the leadership. I will take it to the committees. This is what the people want to see. This is what they are saying. Because when we walk, we will not see many of you all. Some of you all may not be at home on the days when the walk taking place. Some of you just reach home, you're cooking in time. Somebody passed straight, you won't even realize that the political leader and everybody else is outside, and you only heard about it. All right? So tell us what you all want us to do. and we will see how best we could incorporate it. So we're trying to fix. We're trying to fix it. People say the PRT party wasn't listening. We're listening now. We're listening. But there has to be something for us to listen to other than noise. Kevin James. Oh, Lord. Kevin, I hear you. Marissa is saying there's a need for the consistent weekly conferences, like what I'm seeing so far. No start. So that is going to continue, Marissa, for sure. Utilda Ward is saying Pasabi Sasa said party before country, and that is being done by her and her executives. Stacey Warwick, I hear you. Yeah. Alana is saying we need a PNM page on TikTok. All right. Consider it done, Alana. Russell Ramkisoon is saying an apology would be a good gesture. I know Penny has apologized on numerous occasions. But we hear that too. Yeah. But some of the people who persons feel should give an apology are no longer there. We can't force them to give an apology, right? But those of us who are there can only apologize on behalf of. So Shall is saying you need to listen not only with your ears but your heart. Don't disregard, don't disrespect. Put yourselves in our shoes. I agree. The only challenge, Shall, is that there's a lot of shoes out there. A lot of shoes. And you have your shoes, and there are people whose shoes are totally different to yours. And yeah, because folks, let's face it, right? There are people who support the choices made for deputy political leader, and there are people who don't. And even if changes were to be made, there'll be people who support what the current choices who will be upset. And then how will you bring them back? Not at this moment, Marissa, but I imagine when the social media committee is formed, more than likely I would be a part of the committee. Denise Reed is saying we need to have your live more regular. Yes, Denise. As I said, I just didn't have the zeal to do it before. I did say I wasn't going to come here for another 5 years and sit down and tell you all about all the things the government doing. I just didn't expect it. I knew it was going to be bad, just not so soon. So I will endeavor to because I've met a lot of people. I've been meeting a lot of people who tell them when you're coming back on, we missing you and so on. So I will. Yes, Ayana is saying we need to see more PNM persons doing lives. So Ayana, just give me an idea as to who you want to see, and we will make it happen. Charles Jack is saying we need to concentrate on the upcoming local government elections and reform and bring back our local government manifesto to the forefront. I agree. But before local government, Charles, we have local government isn't due until 2027 constitutionally. Before that, we have the THA elections due either December or latest March. My concern is with Tobago. I don't know. We need to do work in Tobago, right? Yeah, we lost those 2 seats in 2010 and we were able to win it back in 2015. But then we were dealing with a different animal. So it's going to take a little more work this time to be able to win back those seats. Yeah, could we try? Maybe try, but yeah, Tobago requires a different strategy altogether. Rene Louison is saying, I want to see a PNM representative for Tokosangi Grandi shadowing the current minister. So the list of coordinators would be published soon, I imagine. So a coordinator has been appointed for Tokosangi Grandi. So soon enough, that will be made public. So Teresa says a leader must be all-inclusive, whereas Camille Robinson Reggie's former PM. So I will have addressed that before, Teresa. Mrs. Robinson Reggie says absence has nothing to do with any rift. It's a personal issue that I can't discuss, unfortunately. As I said, our next meeting, public meeting, will be in Stuart Young's constituency. Leon Graves is saying, you all make UNC absorb 280 auxiliary firefighters in regulars, and we waited 10 years. For PNM, it was low-hanging fruit, and the PNM just refused, and that was terrible. I agree with you, Leon. A lot of mistakes were made. And I can tell you privately, those mistakes have been acknowledged. Obviously, I can't. There are a lot of things I can't go into detail. I can't speak about. Just asking you all to appreciate that, right? But the party, the leadership of the party, and I'm just talking about the political leader, because leadership includes the executive, the MPs, and so on. These matters have been discussed at length, and we acknowledge mistakes were made. Things could have been done better. I guess some people thought that, that the population wouldn't vote for the UNC because they figured the UNC corrupt and so on. And as I said, the PNM lost this election by 15,080 votes. The 9 seats that we lost, when we add up all the votes that we lost by, we worked out to 15,000 votes. So even though 98,000 people withheld their vote, we didn't need all 98,000 to win. It was just 15,080 or 15,100 if you want to put it that way. The votes that we lost by +1 in each of those constituencies. But I hear you. I can't say why it wasn't done. I could ask, but there are a lot of things that, in hindsight, which just says 2020 vision, if the party could go back, they would do differently. And a lot of things that would have been done differently. But going forward, there is a commitment to listen more. Sometimes, yeah. Henry Amsterdam is saying, what do you think about the 800 URP? Which 800 URP, Henry, enlighten me. I agree with you, Teresa. I hear you. Some things that there's some things that need to be fixed that requires personalities to fix. Hacinda Bristol is saying, what kills me is these people bash all PNM ministers and a handful of members stand up. Where are all these so-called voices? We need to shake up. Agreed. Denise Reed says the population votes on promises. You see, PNM's problem is PNM is the only party that makes the tough decisions. It's like your child sick. You take them to the doctor. Doctor prescribe medication. The child look like the medication. Every time I try to give it to them, they cry and they boil and they need to get an injection. You don't like to see a child in pain. You don't like to see a child crying, but the doctor said this is what we had to do. So what are you gonna do? And say, well, nah, I ain't doing it because I don't want to see my child in pain. I don't like to see my child crying. But it's temporary discomfort for the long-term greater good. And this is what the population should not be able to understand. That the PNM is the party that will say we will take the tough decisions. Even if, and Dr. Ollis always say it, PNM is not afraid of losing elections, but we will take the tough decisions even if they are unpopular. But it goes beyond taking the unpopular decisions. When you take the unpopular decisions, you need to explain it to the population why you're doing this. And I guess people are saying that wasn't done. Things were done, explanations were given, but there needed to be a little more explanation to get buy-in from people. So people still talk about Petrochin. There's a lot of misinformation out there about Petrochin. One side is saying Petrochin wasn't making money, the other side saying Petrochin was making money. It's just for us to get look at the information for yourself. But what we know is that if the refinery was as profitable as the other side is saying, then it should have been very easy for us to find a buyer. We finally found somebody who was interested, and this government left them in abeyance for a couple of months. Well, and we had somebody who was interested before Mr. Jindal. They say he's a world crook. They went on to do it. And even if the PNM had done any business with him, they were not going to honor it. And he pulled out. So we will see what happens with Owando. They put together a team. Team say they're going to take 4 months. I hope that includes discussions with Owando. But then you have the union on the other hand who want it. So yeah. Ayana Marshall is saying what had me still a little baffled. Things was not going well within the party with the previous administration, and like nothing wasn't being done, or persons were afraid to speak. So we look for what we got. PNM neglected their voter base because they were too confident that they would have won. And that day, Ayana, is it in a nutshell. I could not put it any better. I can't expound on it. I could, but I can't. But let's just say you hit the nail on the head right there. Right, Kester Billy. So thank you for that, Kester. I can't say it, but clearly you have the information, you are aware, and therefore I won't read it out, but for the people on YouTube, there's your answer. Teresa says we can see the muzzle with you towing the line. I wouldn't say I'm towing the line. It's not a matter of towing the line, Teresa. It's about, you see, there are two sides. And if I pick a side, the other side will say I'm towing the line for one side or the other. I'm trying to take a middle ground, right? Because, again, it's for the sake of the party. So I'm not, yeah. There's not really a line to two, per se. I just wish we could all just come together, realize, look, yes, there are differences. Yes, there are things people don't like. The same way there were things that people didn't like under the last leader, the last administration, there are things people don't like under the current leadership. You will never have 100% support. You won't. So what do? Do we hold a corner? Holding corner doesn't have the party at this time. It doesn't. So, oh Lord. It is going to be a hard fight in Tobago. Thank you so much, Teresa. Kerry Edgell is saying you can't tell the public to tighten their belt and then accept an increase just before the elections. How do I respond to that? All I can tell you, Kerry, is that there was not unanimous support for that decision. Right? It wasn't unanimous support, but a decision was taken. And yeah, there's perhaps some miscalculation in terms of what the public reaction would have been. Consideration was given to the timing of when it was done, when it was announced. But yeah, so it happened. I don't think the fallout was anticipated. There was the anticipation of some fallout, just not that significant. And I can tell you that was one of the major issues that caused the PNM to lose the election. One of the major issues. And yeah. So plenty of people mistook what the former Prime Minister said was telling us. Many painted a dark and gloomy picture when he spoke and placed him in the light. The UNC shone on him very much in a deceptive way. Zara O'Brien is saying we put through Tobago for the THA because Fali and Duke is a waste of time. I hope so, Zara. I hope so. There are things we need to discuss about Tobago as well. That issue with the Auditor General's report identifying so-called missing monies that was spent on travel related to tourism. Fali Augustine at the time was the finance secretary. And again, that highlights the hypocrisy because we're talking about money missing. The Auditor General say 3 billion missing and how much billion missing, and the Privy Council say to lock up, not lock up, but to investigate him, but and where the money gone. Same Auditor General tell all the money unaccounted for in Tobago, millions of dollars unaccounted for. Fali gave all a cock and bull story. Right? He was the finance secretary. Give all a cock and bull story. Where is the hue and cry for that missing money? All of a sudden we forget who the auditor, that there's an office called Auditor General. So those monies that identified as missing, we're not interested in, forget that money. You see that money the Auditor General say, yeah, we were back that. Charge him, but yeah, left for that, that's okay. We are not left Ali. Yeah, it's yeah, right. DS Lip Celeste. Yes, I remember meeting you. Yes. Are we gonna talk about Fali and them on another day? I see Mr. Man decided to do a video with him changing his clothes at the side of the road and talking about some man in office he had a career changing. Really, Fali? The issue is not about you changing your clothes at the side of the road, no. Because we understand, you have things to do. But I doubt that wherever it is that you had to go, that you couldn't have gone in a more private place to change your clothes instead of doing it at the side of the road. Even if you could have pulled aside by some, there must have been some, you're the chief secretary, if you pull up by a restaurant and tell them you want to use their restroom to change your clothes, I don't think they would deny you that. You're the chief secretary, you could go anywhere. You could have go in a bank somewhere on the road, you pull aside and inside the road in the bush to change your clothes, and then you decide to record that. That is private. Nobody want to see you in your jockey shorts. Nobody don't want to see you in your jockey shorts, but you decide you're going to change your clothes and hey, there's something for me to record. Let me do a live, boy. Let me do a live showing people, look how the chief secretary working at I'm going from one event to the next and I'm changing my clothes. Yeah, and I want all to see me and my tighty whities. Come on. Exactly, Sarah. Classless. Classless. Like, who does that? Really? I mean, it's like that's like You know, I'm not even going to give a, yeah. That was just classless. Totally. Nobody, you don't do that. But if Dr. Rowley had done that, man, they would have raked him over the coals. You would have heard him. Yeah, watch him. He's so classless and crude. You change your clothes, you had it, and you want to do a life for everybody to see what you would have heard him. But they willing to give Fali a free pass. Because the process to do a live, your phone will just automatically, hey, Fali changing the clothes, come on. You have to go, pull up, whatever is your chosen social media platform of choice, and go into the process of doing a live so that your phone could record you changing your clothes at the side of you. You consciously decided to do that. Right? That was no mistake. The phone was set up properly, but it was on a stable platform, so it could record you the whole time changing your clothes. Yeah. I don't know if it is you're trying to be a two strap or whatever it is. Anyway. Denise is saying, I'm a woman, I change my clothes in my car. He's a man. Come on. No, Denise, as I said, I have no issue with Fali changing his clothes in the car. I'm saying that as chief secretary, there is no need for you to say, I'm going to change my clothes, let me do a live, set up your phone, brace it against something, set up the live and press go live so everybody could see you changing your clothes. Because I'm sure if you changing your clothes in your car, Denise, you're going to say, hey, I had to change my clothes. Just let me do a live here for everybody to see me half naked. Change your clothes. Nothing wrong with that. You want to change the side of the road? You could change it in the back seat. Yeah, but the whole of Trinidad and Tobago, and not just Trinidad and Tobago, because people hit and share, and that going all over the world. So it's not just people in Trinidad and Tobago see that. Why you had to do a live to change your clothes? When you home in his house and you getting ready in the morning, you ever see him do a live and say, well, you know, just do get ready with me? You ever see Fali do a get ready with me in his bedroom or in the bathroom? When he brushing his teeth or he taking a shower, or you never do that. But you just decided, hey, look up, I decided the road to change my clothes and I want everybody, all you watch me. Yeah, look. Oh, Lord. Ayana Marshall is asking us if Dr. Oli is on the sideline. No, he's not on the sideline now. Ayana. He has just taken the decision to take a back seat. But no, right? Because there's a perception that the new political leader needs to define herself. There are people who say that, who felt that Stuart did not get to define who he was as prime minister because Dr. Oli was still around. And I, as a matter of fact, I saw people complain and saying that, you know, some of the meetings, the public meetings, why did Dr. Oli have to speak after Stuart Young when he's the prime minister? Traditionally would be the last speaker and so on. So they felt that with Dr. Oli being on the front line, that Stuart was in his shadow, right? And so to avoid the same claim being made now, Dr. Oli has taken a backseat of his own free will. But I'm sure if he's asked to speak, he will, but he's enjoying his retirement. Denise says, Toko old boys coming up. I change clothes 3 times and nobody sees me. Exactly. And nobody sees it. Denise. Fali could do the same thing. Nobody needed to know he had to change their clothes. Imagine you on your phone and you see a notification come up. Fali Augustine is live. And you click. You seen Fali any tighty whities. You don't need to see that. Come on. Who does that? Pam Pam is saying I haven't seen it. It's on the debunking page. Pam Pam. It was posted up a couple of days ago. You can go back and check it. And you'll see. Nicola McNichols is saying the PNM people did not give Stuart the opportunity to define himself. There is that too. I don't read that. Natasha Scott Hubert is saying people find fault in every damn thing. David Clark is saying we will lose the next election once people keep silent and be in denial. That's why I'm saying use the organs of the party that are available. If you have issues, things that you're not pleased with, at the end of the day, folks, the focus of the current leadership is to become more engaged with the party. And one of the most echoed sentiments that I have heard over the last couple of months, attending various meetings, is that we did not listen. We lost touch with the ground. We lost touch with our supporters. We did not listen. And the intention is not to repeat that. And so to do that, it requires you all to, so opportunities and avenues are being presented for you all to make your voices heard. Please take up the opportunity to make your voices heard. Please. The 800 or SRP amendment. 800 SRP. I mean, I think that is a good move. The challenge that they may encounter there is the fact that you have a lot of SRPs who have alternative occupations, right? So not all of them may be willing or in a position to take up full-time duties in the TTPS, right? Because you know how it's supposed to work. I think you can look at it from two perspectives. Now, I don't know what the benefits are in terms of this absorption of this 800 SRPs into the TTPS. The fact of the matter is, if you absorb them, so is it that we are not going to have SRPs anymore? Because that whole SRP program, if you want to call it that, was to serve a particular purpose, right? And there's a difference between the SRPs and the regular TTPS. So if you absorb the 800 SRP officers into the TTPS, are we going to have recruitment for new SRPs to do the work that the SRPs who are now full-fledged TTPS officers are doing? Is it that we're no longer going to have the SRP model? We're doing away with that. What it also does is that it as I said, on the flip side, persons who are desirous of joining the TTPS, because if they're saying that the TTPS is short by 2,000 officers and you absorb 800 SRP officers, means that you now have a shortfall of 1,200. So when you satisfy that 1,200, of course you have officers who will leave, who retire and so on, but those numbers are not large. So we need to understand what's the flip side, because the SRP program created employment, or additional employment for some people who are employed in other occupations, but who were able to take it up and who would serve accordingly, right? So it's something to look at, because if you absorb them, it means that there's less new hires that you would have, persons who are not SRPs, who were not in the service before, who might have aspirations to join the police service, but because you've taken in this 800, it means the numbers that you would be recruiting obviously would drop, and therefore it affects new hires. Let's see. So Leon is asking, when are you all coming up to go for the old boys? Please be careful on the road coming up and after the party. All right. Super C says the PNM allow the roads to be filled with too much potholes. We black people will never vote for the PNM again. So I'll say this. In the last 3 months, Super C, have these potholes been fixed? Now, to the defense of the former administration when it comes to the issue of roads and potholes, right? And I've made this point before. It's probably the last point I'll make before I leave. I recall a couple of years ago, the Minister of Finance, then Colin Burt, indicated that the government had intended to take a loan of $1 billion to pave roads throughout the country. And ordinary citizens, some of them who were the loudest voices complaining about the state of the roads, were complaining about the government going and borrow $1 billion to pave road, and they only borrowing assets and money and increasing the debt to GDP ratio, and they're going and incur debt for our children and grandchildren to have to pay, and why they have to go and borrow all that money to fix the road, and we have pitch here. And people don't understand that pitch, asphalt isn't the only ingredient in paving road. Because if that was the case, La Brea would have the best roads in the whole Caribbean. There are other things, other components, other ingredients that you need to pave roads, some of which we have to import. And the very same citizens who were complaining about the state of the roads for years, when the government said they're going to borrow money because they didn't have money, because they're running deficits, because we're not earning as much as we used to before, because oil production fell, gas production fell, the price of oil fell, the price of gas fell. So the government was not generating the revenue that it needed, because every year they're spending more than they earn, because the citizens are demanding more. And if you're not earning the money to be able to meet these demands, you have to borrow, and you have to withdraw from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. But people are saying, don't borrow. Don't take no money from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. We don't want no new taxes. We don't want no property tax. So the government is, where the money is supposed to come from? The road bad. It costs a lot of money to fix the roads. Those are the three avenues we have available to us to earn the money to fix the road, other than increasing revenues by increasing oil and gas production. We're trying to finalize the Dragon Gas deal so that we could earn some money from the Dragon Gas deal. Coquina Mannequin, what's this other one, boy? Laurent Manatee. All of these things. But we know what the geopolitics was with respect to that. The UNC fighting on Dragon there, Dragon this, Dragon that. Government is saying, well, here what? As of right now, those gas fields offer the best prospects in terms of us earning the necessary income to be able to do all the things. You all want us to fix roads, fix the schools, build more schools, build hospital, hire more people in the hospital, increase pension. You want us to increase social grants, give out more food cards, give more people public assistance, hire more people in CPEP, hire more people in URP, give public servants 10% or more, pay them their back pay. All of these things requires money that we don't have. So on the one end, we're trying to earn the money through the gas deals, which the UNC kept pounding at. And the population bought into the UNC rhetoric about Maduro is a crook, and Maduro is a narco trafficker, and Maduro corrupt, and Maduro this, and calling for sanctions. So don't forget that, sir. While Stuart Chung, the same Stuart Chung, was trying to do shuttle work, as Dr. Rowley said, trying to finalize those deals and get that gas going so that we could get that money. The people that's in government today were fighting it down. And they were able to convince a significant portion of the population that what the government was doing was bad. Right? We don't want no dealings with Maduro, and we don't want this and that. Now they're talking about they want to get gas from Grenada and gas from Suriname and Guyana and so on. But we see where that has gone. Nowhere. Nowhere. And that was the challenge that the government was faced with. When the government said, listen, we have the gas subsidy. When you go to the gas station to fill up your gas tank, right? The cost, what you pay in the gas tank is not what it costs to produce a liter of fuel. So you might be paying $6.97, but it might be costing to produce that same each liter of fuel that goes into your tank to produce 1 liter, costing $8.50. So you paying $6.97, and the government had to find the difference, $1.53, to pay. That is money that the government has to take from what they earn in oil and gas to now pay for that. So all these, every time you go to the gas tank, to the gas station, and you fill up, you don't realize that the government had to pay a portion of what it actually costs. Right? What you see in is not what it costs. The money that the government is taking to pay for that could have gone to paving the roads. Right? But when the government said we want to reduce the subsidy, which means you had to pay more at the gas pump, your vex. They only increasing. In both say he increased the price of gas once, he increased the price of gas twice, and they right yet might increase it a third time. That's all they want to do. They only want to pressure poor people and suffer poor people and so on. The government is telling you, look, you want the road paved or you want to pay less at the pump. Make your choice. Right? But we are telling you it is difficult to do both. So which would you prefer? To pay more at the pump, and the money that we would normally pay as a subsidy for you, we take that money and pave the roads? Or would you like to pay less at the pump and we pay more in subsidies, and therefore that money is not available to pave the roads. People can't decide because they want both. The government is saying we don't have the money for both. We can't afford both. So it's one or the other. They increase the price at the pump or they vex. They wicked. Only increasing the cost of living because the cost of everything going and go up now, because when they increase the price at the pump, then business and them going and increase the price of everything in the grocery and all of that. Okay. Don't borrow to pave the road. What want them to do? All the complaint. I still see in the potholes. 3 months now with FX. And 3 months more, I'm going to go down the road and the potholes still going to be there. And what the UNC doing? You see they're going into certain, Jolene is doing tours of UNC constituencies, not PNM constituencies. Apparently, they don't want no bad road in PNM constituencies. And they will fix the paving over road that PNM pave. Same thing they used to complain about. They see in landslips taking place and sometimes when the government was telling them the challenges of these land slippages. Doing that. All right? They promised you all. That was one of their campaign promises. You would pay less at the pump. It's been 3 months. You hear any talk about that? You hear any talk about that? All they're talking is promises made and promise kept, promise delivered. Where is that promise? Has it been kept? Has it been delivered? No. And you're going to go through this 5 years, and I bet you come 2030, you will still have bad roads. You will still have roads with pothole. All of a sudden, the UNC corporations, control corporations now know what their responsibilities are when it comes to minor roads. For years, these minor roads, that is their responsibility. The Ministry of Works and Transport is responsible for the major roads, the highways, and so on. Money is being given to local government. They ain't paving the road. I went to Shogunas, where one of my offices, where I have one of my offices, right? Road paved for years, road in a bad way. All of a sudden, let me tell all here, right? They put one of my colleagues. I'm going to show you how easy it was for this to be done under them while they were in opposition. They put one of my colleagues on a board, right? One of them, I think she's on the board of Pipdeco, one of them boards, one of them big boards. Only to hear her on the phone talking to Jolene. Here now, what you can do for you with this road? Yeah, it's in a real bad state, and I can send you some pictures and you see and whatever. All right, no problem. Guess what? The road going to pave. That falls under the Shogunas Borough Corporation, but they're going to pave. They could do it all the time. But no, we have money. Where they get the money from all of a sudden to pave it? But it's going to be paved. Right? So they were deliberately withholding these services to make the government look bad. And because the average citizen doesn't understand who is responsible for which road, everything is the government and the government. They don't understand what local government is. So it's like you're coming to the MP's office because you have an issue that falls under local government and should really be attended to by a councillor. But you come by the MP and you take it done and you're cussing out the MP, and really and truly is your councillor is the person you're supposed to go to. But people don't know. So the MP getting blamed for things that the councillor is responsible for. So when you come and you cuss out the MP, now the MP had to pick up the phone and call the councillor to say, listen, so, because this falls under the corporation. So I can't go to the minister to ask the minister to fix this because the minister will tell me that is corporation work. So I need to talk to the chairman or the mayor or the councillor for the district to get them things fixed. So these are some of the problems that we face. So I hear what Super C is saying about the state of the roads and the PNM and fix the roads and black people and go vote for the PNM. And they see that's the problem. Because the UNC is not going to fix it. But the UNC supporters are saying the UNC didn't fix the roads, so we're not voting for the UNC again. They're still going to vote for the UNC. And they will hold on to hope that the road will get fixed. But the PNM people will say they didn't fix it. Black people are supporting the PNM again. Okay. So you're not supporting the PNM. PNM stays in opposition. The UNC stays in government. And they close down all the programs that the same black people benefit from. But we are supporting the PNM, who try to keep these programs open. Because the PNM tried to safeguard the 11,000 CPAP workers by extending the contracts to 2029. Right? So that these persons will be employed at least until 2029. But the UNC come into office, and the UNC shut down the program. And the same black people who now out of work, don't know where the next dollar coming from next month, suffering. And will still hold it against the PNM who try to make sure that you had a job for at least the next 3 years. Make it make sense, someone. Make it make sense, someone, please. Asking. And see, that's the problem. That's our mindset. Punish the party because they didn't do this and they didn't do that. Meanwhile, the other party will come in. They will not do certain things because the same UNC councillors who, for the last 10 years, wasn't doing anything, as soon as the UNC win and they come in office, all of a sudden drains start to clean because we cleaning the drains before the rainy season come. All of a sudden, the UNC corporations find equipment, they find the money and the personnel to do what they couldn't do for the last 10 years. And the government, they didn't get the money from the government. They had the money set down there all the time, and unspent balances, saying that this money is for this project. You all remember when it is a couple years ago, Faik Mohammed, the mayor of Shogunas, was saying they're going to have to send home staff because they don't have money, the budget exhausted, and they don't have money to pay salaries. And Paris told them, but you all have money in unspent balances. You have over 3 million or something. So in unspent balances, use that to pay the workers until you all get your drawdown from the ministry. And Paik said, no, that money is not for that. That money is for us to do infrastructure work and do this and the other. So it's not for that. We're not doing that. So infrastructure work was more important than ensuring that people pay their bills and that they have a roof over their head and they have food to eat. That was more important. So all this money that just pile up there and the project's not being done. Under the PNM, they didn't do it and claiming discrimination, this geographical discrimination, and we ain't getting releases. Soon as UNC come in office, no releases, but the money was you were able to find the money and the other resources to do the work. Whole time, the supporters complaining, I see it, Adrian Ali, who is the councillor from Monroe Road, whenever local government election coming around, all of a sudden, my boy posting up pictures, road paving, patching the thing, and his same supporters say, well, why, how come Ole only now doing that? Why he wasn't doing that all the time? Same UNC supporters raking him over the coals, eh? But guess what? They're still going to vote for him. They see it could have been done before. He wasn't doing it. They're still going to, we ain't saying, well, we ain't voting for you because, well, he wasn't doing it all the time. They're still going to vote for him. PNM people, we ain't voting for Ole again. Well, all right, as I said, listen, I love the politics. But politics is not my life. It's not. All right? And I don't plan to do like some people and stay in politics until the good Lord ready for me. It's not happening. So if PNM people want to remain in opposition for the next 10 years, 15 years, that's on you all. Go ahead. But don't expect me to come here and talk and tell all what the government do and bad talk the UNC and tell all this and that when you all contribute to them being there. Right? I said I was not going to do this for another 5 years. But here I am. I cut back on it. But come 2030, if you all decide that you're still not going to support the PNM because you're vexed for whatever reason, you don't like the political leader, you don't like the deputy political leader, you're vexed with whatever because the PNM didn't do this and do that, and you want to put the UNC back in office for another 5 years, no problem. But when it is the voices to speak for you, start to diminish, right? And they ain't taking you all on. Don't complain. Do not complain. Just take it because you vote for that or you didn't vote. And therefore, that is what you're left with. So when your own family members and them now who work in CPEP or URP lost their work and they come in and begging you for help, and you find and you come, don't complain. And that is the problem. The PNM did not get credit for the things that they did. We focus on what they didn't do, but all the things that they did, no credit for that. And we ain't voted. 5 hospitals built, but that's not good enough. 3 brand new ferries. When Kamala Persad-Bissessar inherited 2 from Manning administration and ran them to the ground, that wasn't good enough. All the things that this government would have done, all the programs under Foster Cummins' ministry that help young people today to give them a skill so that they could be self-employed. And some of them who may not be academically inclined, but they're good with their hands and so on. And they have now gotten a skill that they could turn into a profession and start their own business. All of these things didn't matter. We weren't focusing on all of that. All the constituencies that now have swimming pool for the elderly, like in my own constituency, that persons who are retired and they have something that they could do and go and do aquatics or whatever it is, and keep themselves occupied. All of these things, no credit for WinCap. That didn't matter. Those things didn't matter. We focused on the 3 or 4 things that we didn't get, that offended us, and we made a decision based on that, and to hell with everything else. Now, all of these young people who have no employment and come into my office and sending me their resume and hoping I could find a job for them, and going to other PNM constituent MPs and in the same situation. We are flooded, whether it be in hard copy or people sending us resumes via social media and messenger, sending emails, sending WhatsApp. Young people who were in these programs asking us what's going on, what happening. I graduated and this was supposed to happen. What's going on with the homestead program? We still getting the 2 acres of land. We still getting 20. I don't know. And the government is not talking about it. All those programs are in abeyance, right? But all those things that the PNM did, no talk. No credit for that, right? We didn't say, well, all right, listen, no party is perfect. No government is perfect. They do some stupidness. I will admit there were things, and I used to say that unforced errors, there's some things that what I was thinking, really? That was necessary? That just not making no sense to me, but okay. They made mistakes. They did things that, yeah. But we focus on those things and the good things. We didn't focus on. And now, reaping the rewards. So it's not just the 20,000 people who fired. It's how many thousands of young people. All of these, the business grant that last year, don't forget, the government budgeted $20 million to give out 1,000 grants, valued at $20,000 each, for persons to start their business or expand their business. What happened to that money? Where is that money? It was budgeted for. Where did it go? What has this new administration done with it? When the East Port of Spain Development Company, $3 million to assist business owners in the East Port of Spain area, they were providing rent-free space in New City Mall to assist these persons to set up their businesses. All of that going down the drain. All of these things that your last administration was doing to help the same black people, to help the same poor black people, begging them, come, take advantage of the program now. Take advantage. Look, we're giving out land for agriculture. Let come now. Till Mr. Hines spoke about it at the emancipation procession, and they cuss him where they say, oh, the government practicing discrimination. Because Mr. Hines said when we go through the list of persons who are applying for the land, we hardly seeing anybody of African descent. Something wrong with that. Stretching out their hand to help the same black people who say they ain't do nothing for them. Because you know what? The same black people ain't listening to the PNM, they're listening to the UNC. So then that young boy say, look what Rowley want we to do. Rowley, they come with some agriculture program, they want we to go and dig dirt in the hot sun. Not true. Not true. But that is what the UNC sold them, and that is what they heard. That's what they run with. And there was no adult to tell them, boy, that is not true. Don't study the UNC. They're trying to train up all here. Because why they're telling you all that, so you always stay away from the program, but they're sending their people to get it. To get the land and to get the 20. Yeah. Same thing, Same thing. And that's the problem right there. It's not a race thing, It's not a race thing. But the PNM is expected to do more by persons of African descent, because that is where it is believed that we draw the majority of our support. And I kept saying, every time the PNM does something to assist, to support persons of African descent, the UNC quick to run to the Equal Opportunities Commission, and they quick to run to the courthouse and claim discrimination. And more often than not, the courts and the Equal Opportunities Commission would find in their favor and say, yes, it's discrimination, bring the program to an end. Bring the program to an end. And they know why they were doing it. Not because they're concerned, because they realized the minute that persons of African descent realized that the PNM is really in their corner and doing things for them, and they could solidify their base, that spells political death for the UNC. So what did they, and that's what they had to do. I'm going on with this thing. To continue to push this narrative that the PNM only care about the 1% and they ain't doing nothing for black people. And meanwhile, they have a whole grocery list of things that they have available for persons of African descent. When Mr. Manning built the Lavantil, where the old Rumbond used to be on the Beetham there, right? Mr. Manning built that. The the Tech Box Center. What happened? That was supposed to target the at-risk African youth from Laventille. They had an issue with that. Did they take advantage of it? Many of them, they prefer to run across the highway and risk death to hop on the back of a garbage truck. Every morning when I go down to Port of Spain, I see that. And all I could do is shake my head. Shake my head. Look at them. Look at them. You could have get licked up. You see a truck come in and it have a few fellas across the road and you want to make sure you don't miss that truck, or you want to jump on the truck before them and you're willing to risk one car licking you down and you're being run over by 3 or 4 others just so you could jump on the back of that truck. You have no idea what is in it. But you just say, hey, look, too big truck, boy, let me run on the back of that. Meanwhile, on the other side, across by the bus route, you have a facility there for you to go and learn something and make something of yourself and make some decent money. Instead, no, you choose. Forget that. I'm not interested in it. I don't have time to go and sit down in no classroom and thing. I prefer to hop on truck, risk my life to run across 2 lanes of highway, to jump on the back of a garbage truck, to see what I can scavenge to go and sell, and just make enough money to eke out a living for today and tomorrow, and then see what happens after. Is that any way to live? But look at the people who doing it. Look at the people who doing it. And every time the PNM tries to do something to help these people, they took the caravan to the Beatam to get these people to sign up for the programs, because they realize they're not coming to the ministry, they're not taking advantage of it. Let us go to them. Let us go into the community and tell them about it and let them sign up for it one time. They went to those lengths, and even that wasn't enough. That and all wasn't enough. And then they still have people saying, oh, the PNM do nothing for black people. You had David Lee complaining about the HVIP program, the home and village improvement program, where the government was building houses for persons who were living in dilapidated structures. You're living in a little 2x4. Kamla who telling you, we will give you land for the landless, and you could put up a 2x4 and then in a few years save your money and build a 10x10. The People's National Movement set up this program and we're paying up to $200,000 to build you a starter home. And all they tell you, just get the sweat equity. Save the money that you could save on labor. If you could get friends and family to help, you could use that money to build a better structure. David Lee in the parliament, during the debate, the media review, complaining about, UNC constituencies, they only billing, when you read the numbers, 4 in this constituency, 5. But when you look at the PNM constituencies, 77 in this constituency, 84 in that constituency, 60-something in PNM constituencies, but UNC constituencies only have a few. The same UNC was complaining, the PNM do nothing for the people. The PNM constituencies are the worst infrastructure, the most amount of crime, the most amount of poverty, the worst roads, the worst this, the worst that. But the PNM was doing work in their constituencies to help their own. But they had to do it under clandestine conditions, because if it was brought to the fore, UNC will claim discrimination, and then what? The court will say, yes, only discriminating, stop it. And who to defend the government? Who to defend? In my own constituency, during campaigning, saw a lot of these homes. These people were very happy when you see the conditions that they were living in before. There were some of them on the waiting list. One guy I saw, he told me, come inside my house and see. Afraid to go in. Because you're walking and the floorboards, you could see it unstable. To go in the kitchen, it's like a maze. You don't know where to put your foot. Terrible. He said, all right, we'll deal with it. He need one of these HV. I don't even know if he gets in it. David Lee said they're going to continue the program, but I could guess because he was complaining that under the PNM, only few are being built in UNC constituencies, that they're going to focus more now on the UNC constituencies. I told you all, I said, you see that you hear they talking about building 30,000 homes, 30,000 houses under AGC. Well, they ain't building nothing close to that. Mama guy thing again. But I told you all what they were going to do. They will build houses in PNM constituencies and put their supporters in an attempt to make PNM stronghold constituencies marginals. That is what they would do. So in my constituency, we have about 3 HDC projects ongoing. When it is they distribute those homes, who do you think they're going to give it to? PNM supporters? No. They will give it to the UNC supporters because they're telling themselves, well, the margin was 200 and something votes. So let me see if it is that we could do there to show up that and put our people there. That's what they did under Arnold Roberts. Go to Rosewood and Bellbird. Rosewood, where Alexander living, and go to Bellbird, go and see. When you go inside there, it's only a set of UNC flags. You're feeling the hate inside there when you're campaigning. And I don't like to go inside there, but I'm the MP, I have to go. But that is what they did. They put their people there in these HDC developments for that specific purpose, and they're going to come back and do it again. So when you all think it's easy for the PNM, it's not easy this time around, because the UNC want to stay there for as long as they could, thief as much as they can until the population get fed up by them and decide, well, all right, let me get the PNM a chance again. Yeah? And then we had to clean up the mess. And let's just hope that some of us still around to clean it up. Renier Louison, Price Mart always full. I agree with you, Renier. I went to Price Mart Mousica yesterday just to get some grapes, and I say not today. Not today. Can't find a car. I had to park all the only available car park is quite up on the eastern end. So not I'll come back another time. Not today. And I can't even say it's a mountain thing. Any time of the month that you go there, that car park always full. Constant. Same thing in Port of Spain. So Mikhail says doubles and coffee silent on the civil matter verdict of life sports. That's correct. And I have to I intend to deal with that, Mikhail. Oh yes. I intend to deal with that. What's going on here? So folks, I don't know what happened with this thing here, but I guess it's trying to tell me something. So we will chat again soon. All right, so enjoy the rest of your weekend. As I always say, stay safe if you're going out on the black carpet. And is this the same? I'm wondering if this is the same 29 Super C who used to be on here.
Here are some results from a search.
Let's see. That's it. It can't be the same Super C, because these. Thank you very much to the genuine Super C. Who say no? You see, look at the lengths to which they're going, right? So I don't know what's happening here and why this thing doing this. Yeah, impersonating people. God, that's why I'm saying this can't be the same person that I accustomed seeing commenting. But that's what it's going to now. Impersonating people. No, we're not serious. So to the fake 29 Super C, all right, who's saying that we black people, what did he say there? We black people proud to be UNC supporters now. Speak for yourself. What's up with this thing? Yeah, speak for yourself. If you are proud, well, you are not now. You were always UNC. You ain't fooling nobody, right? Always UNC. Because if you could sit down and see 20,000 black people lose their jobs, and you're talking nonsense about you are proud to support the UNC, something wrong with you. You need a checkup from the neck up. You miss me with that nonsense. Yeah, well, real good, no? You really care about persons of African descent? I would love to put you to sit in my office on office day, one of these days, right? And you sit down in my office, where's one of these days? And let me see if you won't come back here and talk that rubbish. Utter nonsense. Supporting the UNC what? What are they doing for you? What are they doing for your people? What? How many of the promises did they make that have they kept? But before they get me upset here today, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. I always stay in longer than I was supposed to. Folks, we will chat again soon, all right? Enjoy the rest of your weekend. It was nice chatting with you all. The real 29 Super C says he even get a food card yet. Exactly. Not even a food card. Come on. Nothing. And I understand this week more firings are supposed to take place. I understand there was a meeting held yesterday, and with the intent of now moving on the monthly paid workers at URP, right? So they are likely to be on the chopping block, all in an effort so that they could bring their own people. Look who they put the national campaigns manager, Feroz Khan. He is now the URP manager, and I think he's supposed to be, allegedly, the chairman of HDC. So they're taking care of their own, right? Payback for all the millions that they spend. But don't worry, it ain't gonna take long before people like the fake 29 Super C to come to their senses. Tell us one thing you get now. Just one thing that you get in the last 3 months. When he whole strain. And while Xander collecting the 2 big salary at the end of the month, right? And driving in police escort vehicles. He liking himself. Payday is what? Not today is. Payday is Tuesday. Right? He have 2 salaries going to his account, ministerial salary and his parliamentary salary. What you get? What did you get? Nothing. Salt. Folks, I'll see what I could do on Tuesday. All right? Yeah. Just as the opposition needs to speak up, don't just sit without saying anything. We have started the process of speaking up, and we will be, rest assured, we will be speaking up very soon. Right? Things are being put in place for that. So let not your heart be troubled. Folks, we'll talk again soon. Tuesday, I'll see if I could probably come on for 6:30. If I don't do it in the morning, I'll probably try and do it in the evening, but I don't want to clash with Jenny's program. Let me talk the thing. All right, so we'll see. Take care.